Your Honor, this is case number 323 on the calendar in the matter of McGee versus Dixon.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have seats.
Which one of you two young ladies is Tanisha?
I am, Your Honor.
That's you. Miss McGee, according to what I read, you own a beauty salon.
Yes, Your Honor, Barbie Beauty Salon.
And Tanisha is your employee.
Yes. She's my boss, Your Honor.
How long have you worked for her?
About 7 months.
On July 29th of this year, you were working in the store?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were not in the store?
That is correct, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, the defendant came into the store with her mother and broke the door to the store, causing damage in the amount of approximately $800. Ms. Dixon said she did not break the door. It was your employee, Tanisha, who broke the door. So far, do I have your stories correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, Miss McGee, why don't you have a seat for a moment? Because you weren't present that day, and I want to hear from Miss Dixon and her mother, who I'm sure is present. Now, there is no question that Tanisha, what's your last name?
Jones, Your Honor.
Miss Jones was in the store. Were there any other technicians in the store?
No, ma'am.
She was alone. And there is no question that on that date in July that you did go to the store together. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did not go to the store for the purpose of having your hair done?
No.
Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You went to the store for the purpose of a confrontation. Confrontation means to confront. Doesn't necessarily mean to fight. To confront Miss Tanisha Jones about a problem that she was having with your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you say in your answer.
Correct.
So you went there with your mother.
And also my boyfriend.
And and the boyfriend.
He was there too.
So 3 of you went to confront Miss Jones about something that had to do with your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
So now I want you to tell me what that was.
Well, there's been a problem for a little bit over a year. Miss Jones and my sister, they were working in the same beauty salon. There was a bit of jealousy going on between them. My sister holds a cosmetology license, and at the time, Miss Jones did not have one. That was where the jealousy came in. Miss Jones was harassing my sister. They were bothering her things, throwing stuff away. They, used to turn her clients away.
Who's they?
Well, Miss Jones and other people that also worked in the shop.
So it wasn't just Miss Jones who didn't like your sister. There were other people who didn't like your sister in the shop.
People that were under her, like maybe her shampoo girls.
Okay. So according to you, Miss Jones was harassing your sister for a long period of time, and according to you, causing other people to harass your sister at her place of employment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what did you go to the shop for?
We went to ask
She doesn't
her.
work there anymore, does she?
No, ma'am. Miss Jones had my sister fired from the shop that they were working at together.
Oh. So according to you, Tanisha had your sister fired from her job.
Yes,
when
ma'am.
was your sister fired from her job?
I'm not exactly for sure, but she can tell you what time when she was fired.
What month?
April.
You didn't go to the shop until July.
Yeah.
So between April and July, tell me what happened.
There was still the jealousy going on, but Miss Jones went to work at a different shop. The first shop they work at together is called Capital Cuts. That's not the shop Miss McGee owns. The shop that Miss McGee owns is called Uptown Styles. And that is where Miss Jones was working. That is where the confrontation happened.
No, I understand that, Miss Dixon. What I want to know is if you claim that Tanisha had your sister fired from her job after harassing her in April, what precipitated the confrontation 3.5 months later?
Because even though my sister was not working at Capital Cuts, she had friends that were there. We used to still go up there and get services. Even when we were going up there to get services, she still was harassing my sister, even to the point where they barred my sister from that shop. And there was no reason for them to bar my sister from that shop.
Who's they?
The management.
Okay, now, was Miss Jones still working at that shop?
Yes, ma'am.
When they barred your sister from the shop, Miss Jones was still there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's the background of the case. Now, you want to say something?
Yes, Your Honor. That's not the complete background. During this harassment of my daughter Fatima, Your Honor, my daughter Fatima Dixon did file a formal complaint against Miss Tanisha Jones and the management to the State Board of Cosmetology. On the incident day, That was the day Miss Jones received the complaint.
Just a second. Which incident day?
At the shop where she said the door was kicked in.
You mean in July?
On July, she got the reply from the state board.
Yes.
And we do have that.
Listen to me. Whatever the state board told Tanisha, whether it was good or bad for her, I don't know. But she didn't go to your house. You went to her house.
That's only after when she received that letter, Your Honor. She started back with the phone harassment, calling my daughter on a new job that is neither one of these salons that they are talking about now.
Just 1 second. So what you're telling me is after Tanisha was notified of a decision by the Board of Cosmetology, she began harassing your daughter, and that was the same day.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When I asked her again what was the problem, she threw a nasty sexual slur. That's where the conversation got heated in the beginning.
Just a second. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me.
And later today.
So your 2-year-old granddaughter was in your bed?
Yes, she was in my bed asleep. And I guess I dozed off. The next thing I know is that my daughter came into the room and said, "Get up, it's a fire."
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hair braider Tanisha Jones says Queen Dixon kicked in the front door to her place of business. Queen says Tanisha had been harassing her sister.
Were you notified on the 29th of July of this year of a determination by the State Board of Cosmetology?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that determination?
They complained that I was using chemicals in the shop, which I do not do.
And what did the State Board tell you?
That you're not supposed to use, you're supposed to have your license to use chemicals in a shop, basically.
Was your license suspended?
No, ma'am. I
Anything
became
happened?
the first licensed hair braider in the state of Virginia.
So when you received that notification, did you call Miss Dixon?
No, ma'am.
Her mother and her sister seemed to say that you did.
No, ma'am.
Who received the phone call?
Miss Dixon received it at a shop that doesn't have anything to do with those two that she's talking about.
Shh. Now step up. Okay, on the 29th of July, you received a phone call from Tanisha?
Yes, on the July 29th, I was on my way to work, and when I got to work, I got a phone call on the shop phone.
And
it was Miss Jones, and she asked me why I wrote the state board, and she got the cussing and yelling and just...
Why, just a second, she said, why did you write the state board, and what did you say?
I told her it was her problem and she needs to deal with it. So once I hung up on Miss Jones, she called my cell phone back 2 or 3 times, and she called the shop phone back 2 or 3 times.
Did anybody pick up the phone?
They picked up the shop phone, and I didn't, and I told them I was not speaking to her.
Okay. What court did you go to with regard to your harassment complaint?
We went to Norfolk Criminal Court, ma'am.
And what happened with that case?
They threw all the cases out except for Miss Jones' case. She got fined, if I'm not mistaken, for the phone harassment. And my sister, she got fined for violating her bond agreement.
What bond agreement?
Miss Jones had us arrested after all of this.
May I please say something? I was not fined at that court. Everything was dismissed except her provoking her bond. She was on bond.
On bond for what?
For harassing me. And she came back to my job.
Just a second. When was the incident where she was on bond for harassing you?
I'm not sure, Your Honor. I don't
What
have
month?
the date.
Before or after July 29th?
After.
So she had a restraining order
Yes.
that was issued against her on July 29th.
Yes, and she was arrested. After that incident, she was arrested.
For the incident of July 29th?
Yes.
Eventually we get there. All right, Ms. Dixon, what happened with that case?
Well, the warrants that she took out were...
What happened to the case?
They all were dismissed. Those 5 were dismissed. There were 2 for destruction of property for me and my sister, and also 2 for threatening to do bodily harm and kill, and 1 for assault and battery. They all were dismissed.
Well, there was no assault and battery that I'm hearing about here, only breaking the door. Vandalism. Shh. No, you weren't there. Sit down.
These are all the arrest
Could I see?
and all the bond papers.
Where is the certificate of disposition on these cases?
We weren't given any.
You weren't given a certificate of disposition?
No, ma'am.
But you were given this protective order that you were to stay away from her.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I want you to tell me what happened on the 29th of July.
I was sitting in the barbershop in Uptown Styles by myself. I was on my cell phone and I heard a boom. When I heard the boom, I saw Queen Dixon coming to the barbershop, and her mother came in behind her. When they came into the barbershop, they walked directly at me, fussing and screaming. They gonna kick my ass. They gonna beat me up because they were saying I didn't have a license to braid in that barbershop. Her mother hit me in my chest, and then she jumped in my face and dared me to hit her mother back. So I grabbed my rat tail comb and yelled for them to get out of the building. They left from out the building, but they continued to kick on the door, and that's when I called the police, and then I notified Ms. McGee about the incident that just occurred.
Okay. Do you have photographs of the door?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, step up, Miss McGee, please. Okay, let's hear you.
She's only telling half of the story. First of all, she testified in court that when we came to the shop, we kicked it in before we even came in. That was a lie. Before we could even say anything to her, she said, "May I help you?" And I asked her, "What's the problem with you and my sister?" I never had a problem with Miss Jones. So I felt like it wouldn't be a problem for me to talk to her like an adult. I'm 21 years old. I asked her,
why did you bring your boyfriend and your mother along?
We were all in the same car. We had just came from downtown trying to get restraining orders on her. They told us we couldn't get a restraining order because there was no domestic violence.
But they did.
I asked Ms. Jones what was the problem between her and my sister. She stated there was no problem. And I said, well, there obviously is a problem. You keep calling my sister, coming to her house, getting her fired from off her job. There must be a problem.
I want to explain something to Ms. Dixon.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what you said to her.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what
Ms.
I said
Dixon,
to her.
That's what you maybe were thinking before you got there. But that's not what you said to her when you walked in.
Yes, ma'am. That is exactly
no, I don't believe
what
you.
I said.
I don't believe you.
Well, madam, that's exactly what I said.
It's not what you said.
As the confrontation went on, the reason why we got so heated into a big argument is because when I asked her again what was the problem, why can't she leave my sister alone, she threw a nasty sexual slur. She said, well, I think your sister's I think she wants to eat me. That's where the conversation got heated. It wasn't heated in the beginning.
Just a second. Did she hit you?
No, ma'am. There was no
just a second.
between me and her.
So she said something that you didn't like about your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me.
That's why I didn't hit her. I never hit her.
But then you said it became more heated. How did it become more heated?
Because that is what upset me.
What did you do when it upset you?
We started fussing.
Explain to me fussing. I want to know what fussing means.
I said, well, you need to leave my sister alone. Stop calling her house. Stop harassing her.
Exactly like you're saying it to me. You need to stop calling my sister's house and not harassing her. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you said to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't believe you. Where was your boyfriend when all this was going on?
Standing near the door. The shop isn't that big.
I don't have to hear it.
But there's so much missing, Your Honor.
I don't care what's missing. Listen to me carefully. You're the adult. You have your daughter and you have your daughter's boyfriend. If your two children are intent on having a confrontation with somebody, it is your responsibility as a mother to say, let's not get into what is potentially an altercation. According to your daughter, you had already been to the authorities to try to get a protective order against her that day. So you're going there and you are really angry. And you don't go there by yourself. He's standing at the door and the two of you walk in. Whatever happens that day in your confrontation, her door is damaged.
It didn't happen like that, Your Honor.
Oh, listen to me.
She perjured herself then and she's perjuring herself now.
Listen to me. I don't care.
She perjured herself then and she's perjuring herself now.
Miss Dixon, I don't care if this door got broken because she slammed the door. It's still your fault. You made an error in judgment by allowing your daughter and her boyfriend to confront Miss Jones in Miss McGee's shop. And if this door got broken with your foot, or your foot, it's still your fault. Let me see a bill for the door.
It did not happen.
Let me see the bill for the door. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $715. That's all. Step out.
What is our excuse?
You will have a problem too if you working in a shop beside me and it's like 12, 13 people waiting to get their hair done and no one wants to sit in your chair.
She is the jealous one. She's the one that's uneducated and she's always having a problem with me because I'm the one that's actually in school doing something with my life.
Drama, nobody wants drama. We just want to work.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gilbert versus Roberts. Step forward, please.
Housekeeper Deborah Gilbert is suing her cousin, grill cook Danielle Roberts, for damage to her belongings. Deborah says that while babysitting Danielle's children, one of them set the room on fire.
According to your complaint, Ms. Gilbert, you took in your cousin and her children into your home because they really had no place to go.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're suing her because you claim that her 2-year-old child started a fire in your bedroom, and you want her to compensate you for the damage that that fire caused.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened on the night of this fire. Where was Miss Roberts?
At work at the Waffle House.
And who was watching her children?
Her children were home with me.
And how old are her children?
The twins are 12.
12-year-old twins and the 2-year-old boy.
Yes, ma'am.
And tell me what happened with the 2-year-old.
When Miss Roberts left to go to work, she put the kids in the room that they slept in. He was to watch TV while the twins did their homework. However, they could not control him. At that time, one of my grandchildren was there visiting. She and I were in the bed, the twins.
How old was your grandchild who was visiting?
She was 2 also.
So your 2-year-old granddaughter was in your bed?
Yes, she was in my bed asleep.
Go ahead.
The twins kept screaming and hollering, and finally they said, Auntie, you need to get Rondarius because he won't stop. He just keep acting bad.
Mm-hmm.
So they came again and said, Auntie, you need to let Rondarius come in here with you. We got to do our homework. So I said, okay, just bring him and let him sit right there in the chair. One of the twins, Tanika, put him in the recliner. And I said, Rondarius, be quiet. I said, because Auntie is going to sleep. And he would just sit there in the chair, and he still made noise. And I guess sometime or another, I dozed off. The next thing I know is that my daughter came into the room and said, get up, it's a fire.
What started the fire?
I had up on a table, I was burning a scented candle. And I don't know if he put paper or if he put some clothes on the fire and started the fire.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is he was able to reach that candle.
Yes, he was.
Then you should have watched him more carefully.
It was not my responsibility.
Yes, ma'am, it was your responsibility.
No, it was not.
Oh, yes, it was,
No, it
Miss
was
Gilbert.
not.
I'm speaking. You're not.
Okay.
She's at work. You assumed responsibility for your 2-year-old cousin when you said, come on into the room, put him in the chair, and you've got 2 babies in there, 2 years old. What you are doing, burning a candle, I have no idea. Why you would sue this lady, you're lucky she's not suing you. You're the adult. You're supposed to make sure that the children are safe. You fell asleep in a room with a lighted candle with 2 2-year-olds, and one of them was awake. One of them was brought into your room because his sisters couldn't control him. And you tell him to go sit in the recliner and behave while you fell asleep? Miss Gilbert, don't be ridiculous. Your case is dismissed.
Yeah, this is case number 294 on the calendar in the matter of Mucci versus Doherty. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated and have a seat.
How old are you, sir?
22, Your Honor.
Are you an only child?
No, I'm not.
Are you the baby in the family?
Yes, I am.
You know, I could have almost predicted that.
Yeah?
Yes, I could have.
Sorry, Your Honor.
You still live at home?
Yes.
This is just sort of research for me.
Uh-huh.
Now let's get to the lawsuit.
Okay.
He was driving your car
Yes, he was.
with your daughter in it.
Yes.
They were friends, boyfriend, girlfriend. He fell asleep. He wrecked the car.
Yes, he did.
He says it's not his fault. So I want to hear why it's not his fault. Go ahead.
I don't think it's all my fault. I think it's part my fault that I wrecked the car, but I don't think I'm...
Which part? First tell me when it happened.
I couldn't tell you the exact date, Your Honor. But
Give me a month.
month, March, I believe.
Beginning, middle, or end?
Beginning of March, Your Honor.
It would be March.
It was May 19th.
It was May 19th. That's close to March. They both start with an M. Okay. How did it come about that you were driving the plaintiff's car?
On the night of questioned, I was in bed sleeping. I received a phone call from Jessica stating that she was getting off work around 2 a.m. and she needed me to do her a favor. So she asked if she can come get me and go for a ride.
You were sound asleep. What time did she call you?
Around 2 o'clock in the morning.
And what time had you gone to sleep?
Maybe 12 o'clock. I work at 7 that morning.
Okay. And you were due to get up at 7?
Yes.
So why didn't you tell Jessica, don't stop by on your way home from work? You're driving, go directly home. I have to get up early in the morning.
I guess I'm a sucker for cute girls.
Yes. And you were just going to go out and do what at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Just, I guess, talk. I don't know. We were just...
You were just going to talk?
She was bored. She wanted some companion. She wasn't sleepy.
Let me explain something to you, sir. You're 22 years old? You didn't get out of bed because you thought you were going to talk at 2 o'clock in the morning. All right. So she came by your house, and you got dressed.
Yes.
And you went outside.
Yes.
And what happened when you went outside?
I got in the car. She was driving at the time. We drove around for a little bit, and then she was getting sleepy, so she asked me to drive.
When you drove around, you're just driving around?
Basically, yes.
Wow.
Well, at that point in time, she really can't come to my house, and I really can't go to her house, so...
Why is that?
Differences in the past.
Differences with whom?
My family and her family.
Oh. So it's like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, sort of.
So you're driving around, then she's doing the driving, and then
Yes.
what happened?
She started to get sleepy also, so she asked me if I can drive. I told her that at the time I was also sleepy, that I didn't want to drive, but I gave in and decided to drive. I thought I was stronger than she was at the time, so
Well, that was a misjudgment
yes,
on your part.
Yes, it really was.
Because you fell asleep.
Yes.
What did you hit?
I hit a bus sign, a trash can, and 3 parking meters.
Lucky you didn't hit 3 people.
Yes.
Is the story he's telling me pretty accurate?
Almost.
Well, why don't you come up here and finish it? You're Jessica?
Yes.
All right, Jessica. First, why did you call him at 2 o'clock in the morning?
I had gotten off work and wanted to go get something to eat.
Yes.
So I called him and he said he would come with me. So I came to his house, picked him up. We went on our way to get something to eat. I was tired, realized that we didn't want to go, and he offered to drive.
You were on your way downtown and you realized you didn't want to go.
I didn't want to go anymore. I was really tired myself. And he noticed and offered to drive. Get in the car, I'm sleeping. The next thing I know, I wake up and there's smoke everywhere, and I look behind me and there's all types of damage to the sidewalk and to the car.
What kind of car were you driving?
A Nissan Altima.
What year?
96.
Was the car fixed?
It's beyond repair. I have pictures and I have estimates. The estimate's more than the car's worth.
Do you have the Blue Book value on the car?
No, I don't.
Well, I need that.
Okay.
Would you see if you can get the Blue Book for me on this car? Thank you. We have a price?
$2,775.
Oh, jeez. Now, Tracy.
Yes, Your Honor.
She was not smart to call you at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I wasn't smart to leave my house at 2 in the morning either.
That's right. Because you got more than the hamburger that you bargained for.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that you're not responsible.
I understand.
And when I read your answer, I said, I'm going to make scrambled eggs out of it.
Sorry.
But you look like a nice enough young man.
Thank you.
So I'm not going to make scrambled eggs out of you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm giving them $2,775 in a judgment because it was your fault. If somebody asks you to do something and you're not equipped to do it because you're tired, then you say, no, I can't drive. Let's pull over and call a cab. Pull over and call your mother. Pull over and call my father, or we'll walk home. Better yet, you don't go out at all. But since you made all of those cumulative mistakes, you have to pay for it. Judgment to the plaintiff in the amount of $2,775. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
For a while there, he thought it wasn't his fault, but I think he's changed his mind.
I learned a lot of lessons in the result of this.
I was a little upset.
Don't answer your phone late at night if you're sleeping.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Munoz versus Madrigal, step forward, please.
Records clerk Rosalinda Munoz is suing shop owner Lupe Madrigal for the cost of 4 dresses and a photographer. Rosalinda says the dresses for her daughter's celebration were the wrong color.
Ms. Munoz, according to what I've read, your daughter was celebrating her 15th birthday. This is your daughter. And it is your custom to have sort of a coming out party, a big party, when a young lady reaches 15. Is that right?
Yes.
What is it called?
A quinceañera.
And you planned a large party, and as a matter of fact, there were several hundred people coming to the party.
Yes.
You commissioned the defendant to make dresses for your daughter's friends.
Yes.
And she agreed, and you came to a price. What was the price for the dresses?
The green dresses that we originally ordered were $120 each.
And how many did you order?
There were to be 11.
Your complaint is that 4 of the dresses came back in the wrong color.
Correct.
And you want that money back.
Right.
And you also want back the money that you paid to the photographer, because according to you, the pictures were not as you anticipated they would be because of the different color dresses. Ms. Madrigal says that she does in fact acknowledge the different colors. Even I could see. Are those the 2 different colors?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That they were totally different colors. She says slightly off shade. That's really bad. And that you shouldn't make such a big deal about it. That's basically a defense. Is that right?
Yes.
Is there any more that I left out?
We ordered the dresses.
You ordered the dresses from someone else. You didn't
Right,
make them.
exactly. No, we did not make the dresses.
Okay. Can I see those dresses, please? These were dresses that she was not making. She was buying. She was the middle person.
Right.
Where did the dresses come from, Miss Madrigal?
From Texas.
Well, they are lovely dresses, but I certainly see what you mean, that they're totally the wrong color.
Mm-hmm.
How many of these were there? 4?
4. Mm-hmm.
Did the girls wear them?
Yes, they did.
Can I see the photographs, please?
Yes.
Why don't you go up and stand next to your mom? Tell me your name.
Juliana.
Juliana? Bird, you can give these back to the plaintiff. Oh, these pictures are lovely. Juliana, it looks to me as if you had a great time at this party, did you?
Well, yes.
Your dress is beautiful. Your dress was white?
Yeah.
Why do you think that the defendant should be responsible for what you paid to the photographer?
Because the pictures and the video are what's left to us as memories of the event.
Why do you think it's her fault that the manufacturer sent the wrong dresses?
I don't think it's her fault that the manufacturer sent the wrong dresses. What I think is that she should have did something for us. She gave these girls their dresses the day of the event. They arrived 2 days prior to the event.
Did the girls go to pick them up 2 days prior to the event?
No, they went to look at them 2 days prior to the event.
Right.
And pick them up the day of the event.
Well, that's not her fault.
That's not her fault, but she could have did something as far as the color. She has a boutique. It's a store. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. It doesn't...
Ms. Munoz, she's not responsible for your photographer. You purchased the dresses from her, from a manufacturer. She was the middle person. Manufacturer sent 4 of the dresses in the wrong color. You had an option at that point. Your option was not to take the dresses and go out and find other dresses, or take the dresses and use them.
Mm-hmm.
Did she give you a discount on the 4 dresses?
Yes, she did.
What was the discount?
Half price.
So you actually paid $60 a piece for those dresses?
Correct.
Did you pay for, Miss Madrigal, those 4 dresses?
Yes, I did. And I had ordered shawls, and not only that, but the shawls did not come in. What I did is I ran around all the fabric stores until I found the color. That's when I told Mrs. Munoz that I had found the color of the fabric if she wanted us to make the dresses. She told me yes at one time, so I told the seamstress we're going to have to stay until we're done with these dresses. I gave all the girls free alterations for the air, and I gave the girls a 50% off those light color dresses.
Well, what did she say when you said, I can make the dresses and we'll stay all night?
She said there was not enough time.
She said there was not enough time.
Yes, she did.
Anyway, the pictures look beautiful. You had a wonderful time? Sure you did. Yeah. Don't tell me that because some of your girlfriends wore white dresses, you were miserable the whole day. I mean, that's ridiculous. You don't want me to think you're ridiculous, do you? No, of course not. You had a wonderful time. That's what you're supposed to have. You're not supposed to get bogged down with little things that really, in the scheme of life, are meaningless. You had a wonderful time. And if a dress is going to make you miserable, then your priorities are all off. Do you understand that?
But my friends, when they see the dresses, they don't want to come in my quinceañera.
Listen, if your friends are being stupid, that doesn't mean you have to be stupid. Right? Huh? Now, if a member of your family couldn't be there because of illness or because of something else, that's a reason to be sad. Because the dress is the wrong color? Get your priorities straight.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
she didn't want my boyfriend there. If my boyfriend came to the house, he had to go directly to my room. He couldn't sit on our furniture. He couldn't sit in the living room. She just didn't like him. She didn't want him there.
Grow up.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rosalinda Munoz says shop owner Lupe Madrigal owes for the cost of 4 dresses. Rosalinda says they were the wrong color.
Seems to me, Ms. Munoz, that the defendant did everything that was reasonable under the circumstances. She ran around, she made the shawls herself, charged you half price for the dresses. You took the dresses, you used them. You used them for the event.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. The shawls and this off-white color don't match. They're a little bit different. They almost match, but they're different.
What are you going to do with the dresses?
You can see that in the pictures.
What are you going to do with the dresses?
Nothing.
What are you going to do with the green dresses?
Nothing.
Now you'll do the same nothing with the white dresses.
Right.
Ms. Munoz, get a life. Listen, and don't teach your daughter the wrong thing. This lady did the best she could under the circumstances. If you didn't want the dresses, all you had to do was say, listen, I'll go out and find other dresses. I'm not paying you at all for the dresses. I'm not using them.
But, Your Honor, I was in a time restraint there. I had
Of course
2
you
days.
were.
This event took me over a year to plan. Over a year. It's like a wedding. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event.
Yeah, you're only 15 once.
Exactly.
You're only 20 once. You're only 21 once. You're only 25
You're
once.
right.
You're only 50 once.
You're right. But this event was ruined for my daughter because of this mistake.
I am going to tell you something. If what you tell me is that the event was ruined because of the dress, I am telling you that you and your daughter don't have your priorities straight. If a whole event is ruined because the color of a dress is off, you and your daughter better sit down and reevaluate what's important in life. This is not. You use the dresses for their intended purpose.
We had no choice.
No, you had a choice. Your choice was to go and get other dresses.
Not in 2 days, we couldn't.
Yes, you could have, and you would have had to pay for them. These dresses you got half price. It was a bargain. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
After a year of planning, we only had 2 days, so we had no choice.
I did my best.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime event.
We worked over hours, you know, trying to get all the alterations done, and we did it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Buchanan versus Cable. Step forward, please.
20-year-old office manager Jennifer Buchanan is suing her former roommate, 19-year-old salesperson Desiree Cable, for breaking their apartment lease. Desiree says Jennifer was acting like a mother.
Miss Buchanan, I assume that you and the defendant were friends when you signed this 1-year lease on an apartment. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you sign the lease?
On February 7th, 2003.
And rent on the apartment was how much?
It's $880 a month.
Is it 1 bedroom or 2?
2.
Were you both working?
Yes.
Great. Okay. And according to your complaint, Miss Cable at some point early on in the lease moved out. She, according to you, moved back with her boyfriend. And she continued to pay the rent on the apartment, despite the fact that she was not living there, for how many months?
4 to 6 months.
When did you move out?
I moved out probably the end of March.
So April, May, June, July, and August. 5 months you paid rent, correct?
No, August 1st, she stopped paying everything.
So she paid rent for 4 months?
Correct.
And you want her to be responsible for her share of the remainder of the lease?
Correct.
What did you do to get another roommate?
I never did. I mean, we just met and we came into this on an agreement together.
No, I understand that's what you're saying to me. She moved out of the apartment in March.
Correct.
You know that she's not moving back because she's living with her boyfriend. What did you do to do the right thing and try to get another roommate?
I can't get another roommate. We came into this, it's for the first 12 months of the lease, it is based on your income. So there was not anybody, I mean, I would have to find somebody specifically within her income restrictions in order to move in because mine didn't change.
What did you do to try to get another roommate?
Nothing.
You have to. Why did you move out?
She was acting like my mother. She didn't want my boyfriend there. If my boyfriend came to the house, he had to go directly to my room. He couldn't sit on our furniture. He couldn't sit in the living room. She just didn't like him. She didn't want him there. So I moved out.
Why didn't you like a boyfriend?
I never had a problem with her boyfriend, to my knowledge.
In any event, she wanted to move back. According to your answer, Ms. Buchanan said that she had a new roommate starting in August.
She said that her boyfriend lease ran up at the end of July, and she was going to ask him to move in.
When did she tell you that?
Probably beginning of April, she had mentioned it.
Listen, You have a responsibility to mitigate damages, but she also has a responsibility, if she's moving out, to find another roommate for you. Except you told her your boyfriend was moving in.
No, I didn't tell her he was moving in. Mentioned it, that there could be a possibility, but the leasing department said no, that the income wouldn't work.
When did you tell her that?
I came home and there was a note saying that she's not paying. I never gave her a yes or no answer. So I said,
well, you better find a roommate, madam.
Excuse me?
You better find a roommate. She's not paying any more rent.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, she's not paying any more rent. You have a responsibility to mitigate the damages. You allowed her to move out. You said, my boyfriend may be moving in. His lease is up at the end of July, which means that she didn't look for anybody else because she assumed that your boyfriend was going to move in. Miss Cable did the right thing. She acted honorably in paying rent, even though she wasn't living there for 4 months. 4 months is a long enough period of time for you to try to find somebody else. You did not. That's not her problem. Grow up. Goodbye. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. That's case number 326 on the calendar in the matter of Marion versus Lauterbach. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Miss Marion, you and the defendant were together, according to your complaint, for 9 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And for a good part of that period, you lived together.
Yes, ma'am.
Who is this?
This is my mother, Your Honor.
The two of you lived together in his mother's house, at least for part of the time.
Yes, Your Honor.
For how many years?
We lived in her house from November of '02 to March of '03.
And prior to that, where did you live?
In Texas, Your Honor.
Just the two of you?
Yes.
Have you ever been married?
No, ma'am.
How old are you?
I'll be 30 next month, 29.
And how old are you?
30, Your Honor.
Your lawsuit, Miss Marion, claims that when the two of you separated, when you moved out of his mother's house, he retained some property that belongs to you, that was your property.
Yes, Your Honor.
You want it back.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Lauterbach says that you took whatever you wanted, whatever you left was either his property or property that the two of you accumulated during the course of your relationship, and he is counterclaiming. His counterclaim is for damage that your dogs caused to his mother's landscaping, and he said that there was some sort of an agreement that the landscaping would be refurbished by you after you left, or if and when your dogs did any damage to the property. I read Mr. Lauterbach's answer, and I read it very carefully, so I have to ask you a few questions just for my own curiosity that really have only a marginal piece of interest for the case.
Okay.
But for me, it's fascinating.
Okay.
You look like an intelligent young woman. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lauterbach says that about 6 years ago, you had told him you wanted to marry, you were interested in marrying and starting a family, and he said to you 6 years ago, I'm not interested in marriage.
Right.
And the reason that the two of you separated recently, by the way, what month did you separate?
August, Your Honor.
The reason you separated and the reason you left is because you once again said to him, I want to get married, you know?
Yes, ma'am.
My clock's ticking. I want to get married. And once again, Mr. Lauterbach said, listen, I don't think you heard me the first time, dear. I told you I wasn't interested.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
That's about it. Yes, Your Honor.
So the first thing I'm going to tell you is I'm going to tell you and everybody else who may be within earshot of these words. When a man says, I'm not interested in getting married, they usually mean it.
Okay.
All right?
Sure.
And unfortunately, life is not fair. Women have a much narrower blossom, for want of a better word. You see, he can go out there and when he's 65, he can make a baby. He may not be able to walk it around the block, but he can start a family at 65.
Sure.
I mean, Charlie Chaplin was, I don't know, 106 when he decided to have children. Women don't have that advantage.
Right.
Right? So he wasted a good deal of your time. To his credit, he told you he was wasting your time.
Yes, Your Honor. I thought he might change. My fault. My fault.
They don't change.
I know.
They only get worse.
I know this now. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Just my own curiosity. Could you stand up just for a second? Who else lives in your home with you?
My husband and my youngest son.
How long have you been married?
23 years.
You think that they get better as they get older?
Do they get better? No.
You just get used to them. What property do you want?
I would like my NASCAR collection back.
NASCAR collection! Before you answer this question, you're going to tell me that this is property you accumulated together?
Mostly, yes.
I want you to watch my face very carefully. And just think of the 9 years of her life that you wasted. She gets the car collection. You got it? You got it?
Okay.
Thank you.
What else?
There is a fine bone china collection that was given to me because I took care of a lady's elderly mother who has since passed.
He doesn't look like he eats off fine bone china.
No.
Right?
I have no idea where these dishes are or what they are.
I can tell you where they are.
Just a second. She's going to tell us.
Okay.
It's in the holiday closet in the hallway in the back in a white box marked fragile all over it.
Know where that is?
I can look.
We're going to find it. What else?
There is a camera that's
What
an
kind of
Olympus camera. I have the box, Your Honor. I gave that back to me, but no camera.
Where's the camera?
The camera is mine at the house
Well, tell me how it's yours.
because I bought it with my money.
For you or for the two of you?
For me.
He purchased that camera for me in 2000 for my, how old am I? 27th birthday.
Does that sound right?
No.
When did you purchase the camera?
It was back in Dallas. As far as a date, I have no idea. I wish I had the receipt.
Well, she does. She said if you don't remember, she remembers. She says you bought it for her birthday.
Okay.
And you gave it to her for her birthday, and you don't remember when you bought it.
No, I don't remember when I bought it.
She remembers.
Okay.
She gets the camera.
Okay.
Along with the china and the NASCAR collection.
Okay.
Don't get piggish. What else?
There's a pink doghouse, Your Honor, that is for my dogs. And
pink doghouse.
Yes.
She's welcome to that.
What else? What else? Come on, wrap it up. So far, you're batting 1,000.
I'm sorry.
Then we're going to get to the landscaping.
There's an e-machine computer, Your Honor. Now, this is a little, I'm not sure how this is going to go because...
If you're not sure, don't go there. But so far, you're batting 1,000.
I know, but his mother and I went to Walmart, and I purchased the computer, but his mother put it on her credit card, and I paid her 2 days later with cash that she claims
Did she
that
pay
I
you back?
never-
No.
Well, that has nothing to do with him, you see. That's between the
Yes,
two
I
of
know.
you. So, next time, if you feel like suing her, you can. What's next?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know the dogs were coming?
I told her she had to get rid of them.
Oh, you did, but
Yes.
you moved in anyway.
I wasn't going to leave her by
Just
herself.
a second. You moved in anyway.
Yeah.
With the dogs.
Yes, with the dogs.
And later today,
I had made it known to her that I could not have afforded to buy the car and an engagement ring.
He said, why buy the milk when you can get the cow for free? He had no intentions of getting married.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rosella Marion says ex-boyfriend Jason Lauterbach owes for the return of a NASCAR collection, fine china, and a ring she won in Las Vegas. Jason says Rosella is mad because he won't marry her.
What else?
Oh, there's a mini refrigerator, Your Honor, that I purchased at Lowe's. I have the receipt for that.
Mini refrigerator.
I have that. She bought that for me upon my return to Albuquerque so I could put snacks I liked in my room.
In your room?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't share a room with her?
It was our room, but she said it was for me.
It was our
That's why
room.
I kept it.
How much did you pay for it? $50?
80, Your Honor.
Forget it. What's next? What's next?
That's it, Your Honor.
Good, perfect. We've resolved your case. All those things, go back to her. Now let's get to your landscaping. Okay, a few questions for you. You moved in together in your mother's house in the year 2002?
I'm not good with dates. I think so,
2002.
yes.
Is that right? November of 2002 is what you said?
I moved in 2002, Your Honor.
Okay.
He moved in March 2003.
That's right.
So you moved in with his mother before he moved in with his mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have any arrangement with his mother about your dogs?
Yes, ma'am. I asked her several times because I was very concerned. I have a Great Dane, Your Honor, not a small dog. I have a Pit Bull Chow Mix, Your Honor, that's 88 pounds. I have a Mutt, that's 43. That's like over 250 pounds a dog. And she said, fine, I don't care what it takes, just as long as you guys get back here. She was very excited for us to get back. So, yes,
Okay.
she agreed.
Fine. What?
When I could say something?
Right now.
Okay.
Did you welcome into the house with the dogs?
Well, did I welcome? I wasn't going to stop her from moving in because of the dogs.
Good.
Okay.
Perfect.
But I did not, as far as just saying that she could bring these huge animals into my home and that it would be okay, you know, just to cause damage. It's more than just the dogs. It was also cats inside the house.
You invited her.
Well, I did.
Good.
I did.
Good. Have a seat.
Okay.
And they ripped up the garden?
The yard, the entire
ripped up
backyard.
the yard? Yeah. And they have been doing that since November of 2000. Shh. Okay. And they have been doing that since November of 2002.
Yes, ma'am. I do have
What kind
pictures.
of? I'm not interested in pictures.
Okay.
What do you do for a living?
HVAC tech.
What is that?
Air conditioning, heating and AC.
So, you work with your hands?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to take care of your mother's yard on the weekends. Go get some sod, go get some seed, rake it up, take care of it. Do you understand?
No,
This was your problem together. You lived together before with the dogs, I assume, in Texas, is that right?
Yes.
All right. And you were moving to be close to your mother? And you knew the dogs were coming? You knew the dogs were coming?
I told her she had to get rid of them.
Oh, you did, but
Yes.
you moved in anyway.
I wasn't going to leave her by
Just
herself.
a second. You moved in anyway.
Yeah.
Good. With the dogs. With the dogs.
Against my, yeah. Yes, with the dogs.
Deal with it.
Okay.
Got it? Property within 5 days. Thank you very much. That's all.
I didn't get to defend myself at all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't know what happened.
I thought men would change, and I've learned they don't.
I have 3 letters of her cheating on me. Speaking of wasting 9 years.
I told him that I wanted to get married and have children, and he said no.
I've got another one from Dear Abby telling her to seek mental help.
Men don't change.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Clapp Miller versus Walker. Step forward, please.
17-year-old Lisa Clapp and her mother, Laura Miller, are suing 22-year-old Tim Walker for medical bills. Lisa says during a St. Patrick's Day party, Tim attacked her, breaking her nose.
Lisa, how long have you known Mr. Walker?
I really don't. He was a friend of my boyfriend's friend, and so like I only saw him a few times.
Did you ever have any bad words with him? Any?
No, never.
Do you know Mr. Walker? How long you know Miss Clapp?
Yeah, probably about over like a 2-month period. We met each other a couple of times.
You have mutual friends. Is that right?
Yeah. Our mutual friend, like, what do you mean?
What word didn't you understand? Mutual or friend?
Mutual.
You have friends in common.
Yeah, we do.
How old are you?
22.
What do you do?
Brick mason.
You drink?
No, not anymore. I slowed down.
But you did.
Yeah, I did.
Miss Clapp says that you were at a party. Was on St. Patrick's Day?
Yes, ma'am.
She was at a party, and she says that you were really drunk. Are you Irish?
Mm-mm.
What are you?
Polish and Indian.
But you celebrate St. Patrick's Day by drinking.
Well, I've always celebrated St. Patrick's Day.
Good.
But
And she says that while you were drinking and pretty drunk, you broke her nose. You assaulted her and broke her nose. And Mr. Walker says that drunk or sober, because he acknowledges that he was pretty drunk that day, right, Mr. Walker? He said drunk or sober, he would never hit a woman. He doesn't know why you would, in the world, you would accuse him of that. So why don't you tell me what happened?
Well, we got to the party, my ex-boyfriend and I, and we went in and everyone was drunk. Tim was the drunkest person there. There was like 2 guys there I didn't know, a girl I'd met maybe twice.
I'm not interested in who was at the roster of the party. Just tell me about Mr. Walker, please.
Well, one of the guys that I didn't know, Mr. Walker decided that he wanted to fight him. He threw a couple swings at the guy ducked and said, you know, you're messed up, man, just go to sleep, I'm gonna leave. And the guy left. He was in the driveway, he had kind of just walked off after that, and everyone else had gone into the garage. And he was still in the driveway, and it was pretty dark, and so nobody really knew where he was. And we were all sitting in the garage, and like I'm sitting there for about 10 minutes or so, and he just came up out of the garage and started hitting me in the back of the head and the face.
You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
They would not give me the photographs.
Were you arrested?
Mm-mm,
Were
never.
you questioned?
Yes, I was.
Did you say you wanted to pursue these charges?
Yes, I did.
I'm amazed that he wasn't arrested. Why wasn't he arrested?
I don't know.
I don't understand why I would do something like this, because I've watched my mom when I was younger get beat by boyfriends. I was raised to respect women. I don't understand. I mean,
drunk. She is not psychotic. When somebody is assaulted, unless they're psychotic, They want the person who assaulted them either to be punished and or to pay for their injuries. They don't pick somebody that didn't assault them.
No, I just no, I didn't do it.
Yeah, you did. You know how you did it? You did it because you'd had too much to drink and you were acting like an idiot.
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Well,
doing
that's
it,
the
so.
problem when you drink too much, sir. You don't remember. How did you get to the party that night?
I actually lived with the guy that was throwing the party.
Do you remember waking up the next morning?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember going to sleep that night?
No, I don't.
Do you remember where you slept that night?
Yes, I do.
Where?
At a buddy's house.
How far away?
Like across the street, another neighborhood.
Some distance away from your regular home.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you get there?
Another buddy drove me.
Why?
Because I don't know, apparently I walked off or something, I don't know.
You have hospital bills, please?
Yes.
That's what I was told, so.
That's what?
I said that's what I was told.
What do you
by
mean
other
that's
friends.
what you were told?
When I woke up next morning, my friends told me that this is what I did, and I didn't remember it, so...
You didn't remember getting to your friend's house?
No, I did not.
That's what happens when you drink too much. And you hurt her. You broke her nose. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 178 on the calendar in the matter of Boroloff versus Janikowski Kinsel. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Are you Miss Janikowski?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your son?
Yes.
Whose name is?
Alex Kinsel.
Alex?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Good. Did you give him a good poke?
Yes, I did.
Perfect. I saw that. It was subtle, but he got it. I'm impressed. Alex,
Yes, ma'am.
I do want you to understand that this is going to be an unpleasant morning for you.
Okay.
Your mother is aware of that, but I'm sure that lately you've had a couple of unpleasant moments with your mother, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't there?
No, ma'am.
And you weren't there?
No, ma'am.
So why don't you have a seat? You're just the question really of liability, and in your case, a question of ownership of the car that was allegedly damaged by Alex.
Yes, ma'am.
When he decided to assault your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
This young man,
Yes.
I assume?
Yes.
The only problem was your boyfriend was sitting in your car.
Yes.
And your car had a sunroof.
Yes.
So Alex, in order to get to,
Tyler.
climbed up on the...
I jumped into the sunroof. I didn't climb.
Jumped from the pavement
Yes.
into the sunroof.
Yes, ma'am.
Sort of like Spider-Man. Faster than a speeding bullet, right? Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound.
You're kind of mixing our
Is-
heroes, but that's it.
That's one of them.
Yeah,
Superman.
yeah.
Spider-Man. So you were able to do that, right?
Yes, ma'am. When you're mad and the adrenaline's rushing, sometimes you do things you don't expect you can do.
So now you want him to pay for the damage that he allegedly caused to your car, right? Alex says through his mother that he's very sorry for assaulting Tyler, which he freely admitted in juvenile court, and he was placed on probation.
Yes.
So he's paying for that crime, and he's sorry he did that, but he didn't damage the car
No, ma'am.
because, like Superman, he was able to bound from the sidewalk through the sunroof to get to Tyler without ever touching the car. Right? So now, Alex, what?
I'm sorry.
What?
Just picturing it.
I want you to, I tried to draw a word picture to you to get you interested in what's going
I'm
on.
very interested.
Good. So, why don't you tell me why you decided to assault Tyler?
Almost a year ago, my friend Kevin was killed, Kevin Farrell. And it was due to the fact that Tyler had robbed someone and placed the blame on Kevin.
A year before this happened,
Yes, ma'am.
who killed your friend?
Lee.
Was he ever apprehended for this murder?
He was apprehended and he got criminal confinement and is still in courts right now, I believe.
Or was he convicted?
Of criminal confinement.
Of
They-
criminal confinement? What is criminal confinement? I never heard of that.
When they hold them against their will in a car with weapons.
You know these people? Do you know these people?
Unfortunately, yes.
What are they, all these gang people?
No.
Just criminals?
Yes.
Oh, you're terrific. Okay, So, according to you, he's responsible for your friend's murder.
Yeah, if it wasn't for him, my friend would still be alive right here now.
Okay. So that's why you were angry with him?
Yes.
Is that why you assaulted him?
That's one of the reasons. They also provoked me.
How did they provoke you?
By flicking me off, saying stuff, parking right next to my car the day it happened.
You mean the day that this assault happened?
Yes.
So they parked next to your car. She parked next to your car?
Yes, and she told me that Tyler had hit her that day, and that angered me as well. And he's supposed to be out of school 10 minutes earlier than all the other students, so he's actually trespassing.
Step up here. Why is he supposed to be out 10 minutes earlier?
Because there's so many people after him for the reason what he did.
You have a special schedule at school, Tyler?
Yes, ma'am. For safety precautions, I leave 10 minutes early at the end of the day, and I come 10 minutes late every morning.
And he did not do that. So if he
So
would
for all of those reasons, you decided that you were going to assault him?
Yes.
Ma'am, a couple of weeks earlier, he had spit in my face at school also before all this had happened and
Did you
got in
do that?
trouble.
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
It's his fault my friend's dead.
No.
Okay, so if you assaulted him a week or two before, why are you complaining about being flipped off?
It just angers me.
Are you seeing a psychiatrist?
No.
Do you think you should?
No, ma'am.
You should. He should be seeing a psychiatrist regularly. You understand that? You don't believe that? Step up with him, please. He should be in therapy. Intensive
I don't believe
therapy.
so, because once a person's been harassed off and on, a human being can only take so much.
Listen to
and
me.
He was at his breaking
Listen to me.
point.
Did you know that he spit in his face 2 weeks before?
No, I did not.
You see, somebody who's being harassed is usually frightened. So they stay away from the people who are harassing them or threatening them. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do, but when they go to the same high school...
He is the aggressor. When he assaults him, he becomes the aggressor.
I understand.
And that has nothing to do with harassment. He told me that he spit at him 2 weeks before because he believes he's responsible for his friend's murder. Do you understand?
Yes, I do, but Tyler had also off and on since the incident has been harassing Alex.
Listen to me. I'm giving you a friendly word of advice from someone who has been in the juvenile justice system now for almost 30 years.
I know that.
If you don't get him involved in therapy, you're going to be visiting him every other Sunday, and you're going to have to go through a metal detector to do it. I want you to trust me on this. And if you don't, when you look back at your portfolio of photographs of this time in his life, 20 years from now, you're going to say, you know, wouldn't have hurt if I had him talk to somebody and get out all this anger.
Yes, ma'am.
Because his anger has to do with some event that happened a year ago that he hasn't been able to get over.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Sometimes life isn't fair, my dear. Sometimes the justice system is not as fair as you would like it to be if you're a criminal.
And later today,
What do you mean you're not officially living there? You're not a moron, are you? You wouldn't pay rent in an apartment where you weren't living, would you?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Tiffany Borlov says fellow schoolmate, 17-year-old Alex Kinsel, damaged her car when he jumped through the sunroof. Tiffany says Alex was attempting to assault her boyfriend.
Can I see pictures of the car, please? I see a lot of damage to this car, Alex.
Yes.
Damage to this car that would suggest to me that you were not able to leap over and get onto the sunroof as you indicated you did.
Your Honor, I did not damage the car. I have a witness that was right there and saw the whole thing.
I'm prepared to hear the witness. You may have a seat. Step up.
And she had also...
Shh. Tell me your name.
Vicki Nofel.
Miss Nofel, this happened at the school. What were you doing at the school?
I was picking up my daughter after school. My car was parked in front of the car that it involved in the
tell me
incident.
exactly what you saw.
He didn't actually climb on the car. He held onto where the door is and was in the sunroof. There was no hitting, kicking of the vehicle, and there had been damage to the car before.
How do you know that, my dear?
Well, my daughter goes to that school also.
Yes.
And Tiffany had stated to her that she had hit a deer and it had damaged the side of her car.
These are footprints. Deer don't have feet. And I cannot imagine, madam.
I understand.
I cannot imagine the kind of assault that he pled guilty to occurred without his feet touching the car if he's in the sunroof. Could you imagine that? It just doesn't make sense. It defies credulity that he can assault somebody with his fists while poised on top of a car, unless this is a toy car. Is it a toy car?
No.
Without his feet hitting the car. You understand that?
I understand.
Good. Now you can sit down.
Excuse me, Judge Judy.
Yes.
We do have a police report, and there's no mention of any damages in the police report.
I'd like to see the police report. This only has to do with the damage to this young man.
Well, I assume that it should have been in there.
No, it does refer to another number that you didn't get. Can I see an estimate, please, on the car? What year car is this?
A 97.
97 what?
Toyota Avalon.
Did you have it fixed?
We don't have the money to fix it.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes.
In court on March 26, 2005, with a juvenile hearing for the attack, Mrs. Borloff was asked if she had any estimates for the damages, and she had said no, she did not, that she just had the car fixed, and she wanted to be reimbursed.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now you can step up. Nope.
And she said she had it fixed by Peterson's Garage in Michigan City.
Is that right?
No.
I mean, that's easy for me to call.
She's lying, Judge.
No,
She
I
did
brought
state
that
that.
estimate with me.
She did not have that estimate that day in court.
Are you telling me now that you did not have the car fixed?
No, ma'am.
Then why would she state that she did?
You have a copy of those minutes?
I asked for them
Do
at
you
our
have a
court.
copy of the
No,
minutes?
ma'am, I don't.
Oh, okay.
They said they were not available, otherwise I would have had them.
Okay. Whether she had the car fixed or she has the estimate, your son's got to pay for the damage. Stop making excuses for him.
I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to state the facts.
First, you tell me that your son caused no damage, because that's what he told you.
Yes,
and you
ma'am.
brought a witness to tell me that Superman didn't cause any damage when he assaulted Tyler. Then you tell me that he shouldn't be responsible because she already had the car fixed, and all she wanted to do was be reimbursed. I'm telling you that you better start thinking about accepting total
I
responsibility
understand that.
for his bad behavior.
But he told me
should
there
not.
was no damages, so.
Well,
Your Honor,
what?
there were tons of people around the car. How I'm not on the side of the car or nothing, you know. I jump into the sunroof. I'm
Too
not
bad.
kicking the
Listen
car.
to me, Alex.
Yes.
Sometimes life isn't fair, my dear, and sometimes stand up on your own 2 feet and take your hands off the table. Sometimes the justice system is not as fair as you would like it to be if you're a criminal.
17-year-old Tiffany Borlov says fellow schoolmate, 17-year-old Alex Kinsel, damaged her car when he jumped through the sunroof. Tiffany says Alex was attempting to assault her boyfriend.
When you're a criminal and you commit certain acts of vandalism and you say, well, I did that, but I didn't do that. Of course, they're going to say, listen, I don't have time to figure this out. You jumped up on her car. Common sense suggests that when you jump up on a car and you assault somebody to the extent that you plead guilty to an assault, so it's a serious assault, and according to you, my adrenaline was flowing so that you're able to do things. That's what you told me. So I was able to do things. You never know what your strength is. I don't have to say to myself, well, maybe a deer caused one of these dents, and maybe you caused one of these dents. It's your fault. You're responsible. I can't find the deer. You're it. You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
That person in there, fault that my friend died.
His friend was my best friend.
So I think he deserved everything he got.
He's like my brother.
I do not believe that he needs therapy.
I don't know. I don't think I'll never rest over it.
Maybe a little bit of counseling to help deal with his anger.
Seeing his picture in the obituaries.
So I don't really know what to say to it. I'm just glad it's over.
I hope Alex does get the help he needs.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Weber versus Gonzalez-Evans. Step forward.
25-year-old Kendra Weber is suing her former roommates, 22-year-old Andrea Gonzalez and her boyfriend, Kyle Evans, for the return of her security deposit and renter's insurance.
Miss Gonzalez, how long were you and Miss Weber friends before you decided to room together?
About 3 years.
When did you sign this lease, Miss Weber?
On November 8th, 2004.
And how many people signed the lease?
Just us two, Andrea and I.
And what was your agreement?
We were to split all of the bills and rent 50-50 two ways.
And this must be Kyle.
That's correct.
Who is Kyle?
Kyle is my boyfriend.
Kyle didn't sign the lease.
No, he did not.
You moved out.
Yes, that's correct.
It is your claim that you moved out because things were made totally untenable with the apartment, and you wanted to move in with your boyfriend.
This is correct.
And you want some of your security deposit back and some renter's insurance.
That's correct.
Several $100s. And Miss Gonzalez and Mr. Evans say that you're not entitled to it. You moved out and you knew that you were going to forfeit any monies that you put into the apartment. Did you move in November of 2004?
Yes.
When did you move out?
April 30th.
And you had paid your rent up until that time?
Yes, I had.
And for my own information, when did Kyle move in?
It was just about a week or two after we moved in, so still in November of 2004.
And what was the rent on the apartment?
$12.75 for the first 6 months, and after that, $13.75.
And how much were you paying?
The first month I paid half, and then after he moved in, we split it three ways, $4.25 apiece.
And how much security deposit did you put in, Kyle?
I didn't put any in.
Why?
I wasn't on the lease.
Well, you were living there.
For the majority of the time, I was living there.
So why didn't you pay security deposit?
Because the security deposit was worked out between the defendant and plaintiff.
Are you still living there?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
How much security deposit did you put in now?
Nothing.
Nothing. Well, now you're going to put in her security deposit, Kyle. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. So you're going to give her $285, and then when you move out, if you keep the place nice and clean, you're going to get your $285 back. Doesn't that sound fair to you?
Yes.
Perfect. See how easy this is? Now let's deal with the renter's insurance. Did you pay the renter's insurance?
I paid half of it, yes.
You paid half. How much did you pay, Kyle?
None.
Why not, Kyle?
Because I wasn't officially living there. I was in
What do you mean
between.
you're not officially living there? You were living there, Kyle, because you were paying a third of the rent after 1 month of them signing the lease. You were officially living there. You're not a moron, are you? You wouldn't pay rent in an apartment where you weren't living, would you?
No, I was helping my girlfriend out.
Well, where else were you paying rent, Kyle?
Nowhere else, but I was also with my mom.
You weren't paying any rent to your mom?
No.
He was not living with his mom.
Just a second. Of course he wasn't living with his mom. He thinks because I'm older than he is, I'm stupid. You think all old people are stupid?
No.
Very good. So, you wouldn't pay rent for a place where you weren't living. What do you do for a living?
Loan setup. I work in the mortgage industry.
And how do you get to work every day?
I drive.
A what?
A car.
In whose name is the car?
That would be in my mom's and my name.
Is it in your mom's name because you're too young to have a car in your name?
No, it's just I needed a cosigner on the car.
Oh, but your mom doesn't drive in the car.
Not usually, no.
It's your car.
For the most part, yes.
And how far does your mom live away from you?
I'd say about 15 miles.
So how long does it take you to drive when you go visit her?
10 minutes.
So she doesn't come on the weekends to take your car, does she?
No, but I visit her on the weekends.
You do?
Yes.
And the rest of the time you live where?
I live most of the time over there. There are nights where I do go over there.
What a moron. All right, listen to me, Kyle. You're going to give Miss Weber $313. $285 of that represents her security deposit, which you have now taken over. Do you understand? When you're neat and clean and tidy and you and your girlfriend decide to move out, you'll get the $285 back. Doesn't that sound fair to you?
There was also damage
I'm
done.
speaking. Does that sound fair to you?
Yes.
Then you have renter's insurance. Now, renter's insurance covers any property that may be in the apartment. How much property does she have in the apartment?
At that time or right now?
Now!
None.
How much property do you have in the apartment?
A good amount, I believe.
Good. Then the renter's insurance is going to help you out. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $313. It's been delightful chatting with you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may...
You and Mr. Moses were in a relationship for a brief period of time, and according to your complaint, you made 2 loans to him.
That's right.
One involved some criminal restitution, and the other was a loan for an attorney so that he could start divorce proceedings. I assume that this is your wife.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are currently reconciled with your wife, And according to you, Miss Jones did not make loans to you. These were acts of generosity on her part, and there was no expectation that she was going to be repaid. Is that right, Mr. Moses?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you leave your wife?
I left my wife November 22nd,
2005.
04.
04. But I would watch myself on the 22nd of November. And when did you meet Miss Jones?
Met Miss Jones January the 2nd.
January the 3rd.
Where?
I actually met her off the chat line.
So you started to communicate with each other on the internet?
Yes, ma'am.
That is not true.
Where did you meet?
My car was broke down when I was coming out of the tanning bed at a strip mall, and he was coming out of a little place called Deals. And I asked him would he give me a boost. He said, yes, I don't have jumper cables. I said, I do. And he asked me, was I married? I said, no. Are you married? He said, no. And it kind of
So
took
that's
off.
how you met?
That's how we met.
And then you started to communicate on the internet?
No, we started communicating on the telephone.
Is that right?
Telephone come from the chat line, yes. And we actually met. That was our meeting place at Deal's parking lot.
Did you first meet her at Deal's parking lot, Mr. Moses, when she asked you for a jumper?
I met her there, but I've talked to her on the chat line.
Before?
Before.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you start speaking to her on the chat line?
Probably December 30th.
That is not true.
So you're telling me 3 days later you met her at Deal's?
Yes, that's when she wanted to meet.
Right, it's interesting. Okay. Now, when was the first time, Miss Jones, you gave him money?
It was February the 23rd. I got a phone call in the middle of the night from he and his daughter on a two-way call stating he'd been arrested falsely for beating his wife up and wanted to know, could I come and bond him out?
Now, you had been dating between the 3rd of January and February 23rd?
Yes.
How much did he need to bail him out?
Initially, it was $10,000, so I needed $1,000. So I went to the bank and drew the money out. And when I got to the bondsman, they cut him some type of deal, and it was $837.
Well, you have to tell me about the conversation that you had. What did he say to you, and what did you say to him?
On that particular night at midnight, he asked if I indeed would come and bail him out. He would be able to pay me that Friday. I believe that was on a Sunday. And he makes pretty good money, and, you know, so I knew he could afford to give the whole $837 or a whole $1,000. I thought it was going to be $1,000 at that point.
Did he say, I'll give you the money on Friday?
Friday, yes.
Did he give you the money on Friday?
He said he was having some financial problems. He could give me half of it. He gave me $400.
Did you give her $400, Mr. Moses?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the $400 for?
It's for getting me out of jail.
So you acknowledge that this was a loan?
It wasn't a loan. I just told her I would give her $400 back. I mean, I appreciate it. It was my appreciation to her for getting me out. I mean, I just met her, you know, and it was nice of her to get me out of jail.
Just a second. When did you give her the $400?
That Friday, the following Friday.
Just a second. So you called her from jail and you said, could you bond me out? You didn't say anything to her about giving you back money on Friday.
No, ma'am.
It just happens to be that on that Friday you gave her $400.
Yeah, out of generosity, because she was generous enough to get me out of jail, so I told her I'd give her what I could Friday, and I could give her $400.
Oh, now your story's changed, Mr. Moses.
No.
Now you said that you told her you'd give her what you could on Friday.
Yeah.
Well, that's different from not saying anything to saying, I told her I'd give her what I could. And what you could give her on Friday was $400. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the next time Mr. Moses needed money?
It was about 4 weeks later. He told me he had a...
Just a minute. Between that Friday and 4 weeks later, you mean he didn't give you any more money?
He gave me $150, $50 increments.
When?
Actually, the first payment was $517.
No. Just answer my questions. Now you say that he gave you money in $50 increments, another $150. Was that over the next 4 weeks?
No. There was no money exchanged between the initial loan and the second loan.
That's what I want to know. So tell me what happened 4 weeks later.
Well, when I met him, he told me he was not married, okay? Or make that clear. Then I find out that he's got a lawyer that he's dealing with that's no count, okay? So he says he's not helping him. He's not helping him to get his kids. His wife is not taking care of the children. He needed his kids desperately. And he knew I had some money saved up, okay? That's my first probably major mistake. And he asked me if I would help him get this new lawyer put the $1,000 retainer fee. Once his divorce was final, his kids was in his home and they were stable. His financial situation was stabilized. Everything would be on target, and he would be able to.
The check's in the mail.
Right.
So you gave him $1,000.
I wrote the $1,000 to the lawyer.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am. She had pushed me into divorce in my...
Well, explain that to me. How did she do that?
Well, first of all, I never lied to you about being married. I told her I was married and had 4 children, and I was going to get a divorce. That was my goal, to get a divorce.
You were going to get a divorce because your wife was a very nice person?
I was going to get a divorce because we had some marital problems.
Well, some marital problems doesn't always talk about divorce, Mr. Moses. Did you actually come here thinking that you were going to run circles in this courtroom?
No, ma'am.
So you told Miss Jones that your wife wasn't caring for the children?
I did.
That you needed to get custody of your children?
I did. I needed them.
Because your children were at risk with your wife because she wasn't taking care of them?
My mother was watching them, actually, at my mother's house.
No, they were running back.
My mother was watching them.
Was they watching them because your wife has problems?
She was watching them because my wife was, she had problems.
Put your hand down. What kind of problems did your wife have?
She just had, like...
No, look at my face.
Oh.
What kind of problems did your wife have, Mr. Moses?
She had boyfriend problems. I mean...
Drug.
Did you tell the plaintiff that your wife had a drug problem?
Yes, ma'am.
Karnak.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How did your daughter find out you were in jail?
I called.
And did you say to your daughter, call Miss Jones?
No, I did not.
Baloney!
And later today...
I guarantee you, at their stage in life, they didn't anticipate taking care of 2 infants. Because not only did you make 1 mistake, but you couldn't keep your thing in your pants long enough not to make 2 mistakes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brenda Jones says ex-boyfriend Thomas Moses Jr. owes for bail money and a loan to retain an attorney. Brenda claims Thomas lied about being married.
Now, you told Miss Jones that your wife couldn't take care of your children because she was abusing drugs and she had boyfriends, and you needed to get custody of your children.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, how does that translate, Mr. Moses, into she was pushing me to get a divorce from my wife?
Because she kept on me and telling me that she loved me and she wanted me to get divorced from my wife, and she would help me get my children and we could live together, and she kept forcing me to get a divorce.
Forcing you?
I didn't want a divorce.
What did you want?
What
did you want?
I wasn't clear about what I wanted at the time.
I have a feeling, how old are you?
I'm 44.
That is persistent state of your mind.
Absolutely.
Unclear.
Okay.
Now, you went back to your wife when, sir?
Went back to my wife on, I don't know.
Give me a month.
July the 22nd, just when I got a phone call from the wife.
7/22. Now, when you went back to your wife, sir, did your wife enter a drug rehabilitation program?
No, ma'am.
Then she's still using drugs.
No, ma'am.
Well, if one of the reasons you were having marital difficulties, sir, is because your wife was a drug abuser, and if she didn't enter a program, then she's still using drugs, unless you were lying to the plaintiff when you told her that your wife was a drug abuser. So which one is it? Were you lying to the plaintiff, or was your wife still abusing drugs?
She is not abusing drugs now. She's changed, or for whatever reason, I guess.
Miraculously. What kind of drugs was she abusing, sir?
Just marijuana and stuff.
No, what kind of stuff? Marijuana and what kind of stuff?
And, hydrocodone.
And what?
Hydrocodone.
What is that?
Lortabs.
Lortab.
What is that?
He told me some type of nerve pill.
It's a pain pill because she has lupus and she has a bunch of stuff wrong with her.
So she's not taking those pills anymore? She's not using marijuana anymore? Is that what you're telling me?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
So how come you decided to go home, sir?
For my kids, because things wasn't happening fast enough for me.
So you're home taking care of your children?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you gave her $50 increments 3 times after the loan to the lawyer. What was that for?
It was for the jail.
It was for the jail?
Mm-hmm. For get me out of jail.
So you were just being a nice guy then? That wasn't a loan?
There was never a loan. I never asked Miss Jones to get me out of jail.
Yes, you did.
Yes,
you did. You asked her to get you out of jail because otherwise she wouldn't have known that you were in jail, sir.
No, my daughter called her.
How old is your daughter?
18.
How did your daughter find out you were in jail?
I called. I called my house because my house.
You called your house and you spoke to your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And did you say to your daughter, call Miss Jones?
No, I did not.
Baloney!
I did not.
Listen, what's your first name?
Tommy. Thomas.
Slick Tommy, let me explain something to you. You don't take advantage of people and then just walk away. You clean up after your mess. You made a mess, you clean up after it. Bad enough that you involved this woman in your muddled mind, your 44-year-old bouillabaisse that you got going up there. But to take her money is unconscionable, sir. Unconscionable. You owe her $1,287. That's the remainder on the bail and the $1,000 for the lawyer that you, for some reason, decided that you didn't need because your children needed you, which is a very nice thing. You decided to go back to your wife for your children's sake. Very nice. I would suggest to you that it doesn't serve your children well if your wife is abusing drugs to live with her. And if your wife isn't abusing drugs, then you told this lady a fib. Because unless somebody gets into a program, if they are drug abusers, they don't stop. Goodbye. $1,287 is what you owe her.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She really didn't give me a chance to talk like I wanted to talk.
She knows a piece of you know what when she sees one.
She still calls me all the time and tries to get me to meet her places.
She just saw it go.
I should have never left my wife.
He took advantage of me, took advantage of my heart, and you know that's the most harmful thing, I think.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Thompson versus Frost. Step forward, please.
Tracy and Steve Thompson are suing Tracy's son, 22-year-old Terry Frost, for a loan to buy a motorcycle, bail money, and impound fees.
Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, this young man is your son?
Correct, my son.
Your stepson?
Yes, ma'am.
I gather you feel he's been a little bit irresponsible.
A lot, yes.
You co-signed for a motorcycle for him a couple of years ago.
Correct.
He stopped making payments on the motorcycle.
Correct.
You took it into your custody. You have the motorcycle.
Correct. It was going to be repoed.
So you made all the payments on it so far?
Correct. When the bank called in regards to being repoed, our credit would be, you know, in bad
jeopardy?
order. Exactly. And so I asked TJ, you know, why aren't you making payments? So then he said at tax time he'd be able to make up what I've already paid and take over payments at that time.
But he didn't?
Correct.
Oh, so now you took a motorcycle back over a year ago?
04, correct. It's been sitting in my backyard.
Okay. Who has the title to it?
I actually got the title. I got it last month, and it's actually in his name.
Great.
I have pictures of the bike, too, if you'd like to see it.
I assume you've kept it in good condition?
No, he actually didn't. He laid it down, and then it's like all dismantled, and apparently he blew out second gear. I don't know what all damage is to it, but...
Okay. Have him sign this over to them, please.
Your Honor, I really don't want the bike.
Then you shouldn't have signed for him. You shouldn't have taken it back over a year ago. And you took it back over a year ago, madam. What you should have done is gotten it, sued him, and come to court immediately. You know, now what you have to do is you have to sell it, and if there is any shortfall between that and what you owe on the bike, you may be able to sue him again. But right now, you have to take the bike and you have to sell it. Now let's talk about the bail. You bailed him out again over a year ago.
Yes.
Tell me how that came about.
He called one night. He had gotten a DUI, and I went down the next morning and bailed him out of jail.
When was that?
Late of 03.
In 2003?
Yes.
So 2 years ago.
Yes.
When did you co-sign for this bike?
In 2002.
And what was he driving in when he had a DUI?
Another car of his.
Did you call them?
Yes.
Did you tell them you were going to pay him back for the bail?
I just asked him to bail me out of jail.
And they did?
Yeah.
Were you working?
No.
How'd you expect him to pay you back?
Whenever he got a job.
There are loans, and then there are what we call great expectations. I would assume that when he called you and said, I'm in jail, come and get me out, you said, I'll be right down. Right?
Not quite, but
What did you say to him?
I reluctantly went down.
Right. Because you love her.
No, actually, I was not going to bail him out because that was
Oh,
his
that would have
second
been very
time
smart.
out.
I wouldn't have bailed him out.
Well, and then he
Maybe,
felt sorry for him.
And this
then
was in
he bailed him out.
2003. How old are your children?
2 and 8 months.
Oh, at least he might not have had one. He makes a lot of bad choices.
Correct.
Isn't that right, sir?
I guess, yeah.
What do you mean you guess? How old are you?
22.
You're 22 and you have 2 children.
Yep.
And how old is the mother of these children?
21.
And where does she live?
With her mom.
And where do you live?
With my aunt.
That sounds like a wonderful family. Now, you hesitated for a moment, Mr. Frost, when I said you've made some bad choices. Let me explain to you what you've done. In your short period of time, you've probably screwed up their credit. Are they rich people?
No.
Well, you stuck them with a motorcycle loan, right?
Right.
You stuck them with your bail, right? You stuck perfect strangers with taking care of 2 babies. That's your girlfriend's parents that she's living with.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I guarantee you at their stage in life, they didn't anticipate taking care of 2 infants. Because not only did you make 1 mistake, but you couldn't keep your thing in your pants long enough not to make 2 mistakes. And you say to me, you have a question as to whether or not you made mistakes?
Yeah.
You have a question?
No.
So you could have avoided the whole thing by saying, you know, I was a dumb kid.
Okay.
Dumb kids make dumb kid mistakes. They don't make babies.
Right.
Not 2. Who do you work for now? That's not a question that requires a lot of thought. You have 2 babies.
For Thompson Tile Maintenance.
You work full-time or part-time?
Part-time, and I go to school full-time.
Where do you go to school full-time?
Davenport University.
What kind of school?
I'm going for medical.
You want to be a doctor?
Not a doctor. A nurse.
Thank God. Do you see your grandchildren?
I do now. There was a period that with this loan, I didn't see him for about 7 months or something like that. And then he had his second baby, and I ended up going to the hospital and seeing the baby. And, you know, he has since told me, you know, him and his fiance are paying off her parents some money. And I think he owes me this money for this bike because I don't want this bike. I want him to pay me for this bike because I didn't want the bike
I think that morally he should do that.
Yes.
I just told you the legal result of what's going to happen here today.
Right.
If your son chooses to take the moral high road, that's up to him. You paying the maternal grandparents of your children some money?
I'm not. My fiance is.
For what?
I don't know, whatever they loaned her.
What do you spend your money on?
He
Baby
gives it
stuff.
to her.
Well, that's good.
Right. No, I agree.
That's
She's
good.
a
That's
blessing.
fine.
She's a blessing.
That's fine. Somebody's got to support these babies.
She's a blessing. She keeps things straight.
So you give her money?
Yeah.
How much?
My whole check.
And what do you give to your aunt?
Nothing.
Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, put a lock on your checkbook.
Right.
Yes,
Done
ma'am.
did.
Good. Goodbye.
35-year-old family support officer Monica Mathias and her husband, 40-year-old aircraft mechanic Joseph Mathias, are suing 39-year-old roofing contractor Glenn Matheson. The Mathiases claim Glenn's workers tortured their dog during a job at their house.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 29 on the calendar in the matter of Mathias versus Matheson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Mathias, you hired the defendant's firm to re-roof your home.
Yes, ma'am.
And you claim that in the process of working in your home, they tortured your dog.
That's correct.
They entered your home without your permission, or someone entered
That
your
is
home
correct.
without your permission. Nothing was taken, but you were forced to put new locks on the doors and windows. And you want the defendant to return the price of all the roofing materials that you paid for the house and for your aggravation.
Correct.
Okay. The defendant said his people didn't do anything and he should be paid for his work. I assume you were paid for your work, is that right?
No, I haven't been paid at all.
You haven't been paid at all?
No.
Okay. We'll see. What was the total cost of the job?
Total cost of the job after the second invoice was $7,597.
Can I see it, please? Did you give him any deposit?
No, ma'am.
So you gave him nothing?
No.
Did this price include the materials?
Yes, ma'am.
It did?
Yes, it did.
So you have paid for neither materials nor the roof?
I've paid for the materials, yes.
Who did you pay for the materials?
His supplier,
How much did you pay for his materials?
$2,400.
And is the material money that you want back?
Yes.
Okay. When were you supposed to pay him the balance?
I told him that I'd pay the balance after a person of the court told me to do so on good conscience. I cannot, after what happened.
Okay. Now, you were not at home when this work was done?
I arrived home at 3 o'clock and 2/3 of the job was complete.
You have, I assume, a witness who saw what happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you the witness? I assume you're the witness. Step up, please. Tell me your name.
My name's Karen Dick.
Are you a neighbor?
Yes, I am.
How far away from the plaintiff's house is your house?
They live directly across the street.
Would you tell me what you saw on that day?
Yeah, typically I get up in the morning and I prepare dinner for the kids. So I got up and I noticed out the window that we have over the sink that the neighbors were having their roof done. I went on about my business, and then as I'm looking out the window, I was at the sink doing something. I noticed there was a sort of a large dog. It wasn't a big dog. It was tall, but it wasn't too big. I didn't really recognize it. I've only been in the home with my boyfriend about 8 months, so I hadn't really met the neighbors. I've only said hello to them. I noticed the dog was on Joe's front lawn, kind of in the middle of about 5 gentlemen who it seemed like they were just kind of scurrying the dog. I didn't know if maybe the dog got out. They were concerned this dog's, interfering with their work, if they were nervous. A few minutes later, I came back to the sink. I now noticed 2 of the workers have hammers in their hand, and they're swinging at the dog. The gates open, so I realized that the workers must have let the dog out. So at first I think maybe they're just trying to intimidate the dog.
What kind of gate was it? Was it a fenced
It's
yard?
It's a fenced yard, yes.
And you saw the
It was
door
open, yes.
Now, when you saw them swinging these hammers, none of the blows connected with the dog?
I did not see that, no.
Okay.
As I'm watching, though, the dog showing no aggression, so that wasn't the issue. And the dog is kind of scurrying back, and it's sitting back on its back legs. So it was surrendering. They could have easily put it back. At this point, now they're playing a game. The hammers are getting closer to the heads. They're laughing. They're smiling. They're going to hit that dog. So I'm screaming hysterically at the top of my lungs, please stop. What are you doing? And they get my attention, so I'm standing there to make sure they understand I'm standing there watching this. At this point, the 2 men walk away, and the dog's still there. I go back into the home, and my boyfriend's mother, who's about 82, comes into the house, and I'm trying to explain to her, because her English isn't great, I'm trying to explain to her what's going on, and I'm looking out over her shoulder. At this point, I see one of the 2 gentlemen with a rope in his hand starting to do this, and I know what he's going to do. And I'm watching this, and before I can react, he's already got the dog by the 2 back legs, he's yanked the rope, and by yanking the rope so hard, he forced the dog to flip over on the back side, and from the left side of Joe's house all the way to the front side, to the far right side of Joe's house, through the street, not on the side, but through the street, he drugged the dog on the dog's back.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm fine.
Was there any, when he did that to the dog, when he tied the dog's back legs, were they still right near the fenced-in yard?
No. Thank you. The gentleman that had the rope was standing in the street when he picked up the rope, because he's walking down.
So the dog had moved?
The dog really hadn't really moved. The dog was still in the grass, from what I recall. He's still kind of on the grass. He hasn't really gone anywhere. The gentleman takes the rope, and he's walking this way. So he had gone down, I don't know if it's truck, I couldn't see from my window, but he was coming back. And when he came into my view, that's when he had the rope in his hand, and that's where he took the rope to the dog's legs. As he dragged the dog through the street, that's when I ran back outside, and I wanted to make my presence completely known that I'm watching this and I'm seeing who's doing this. Because he's tugged the rope so tight, there was no way for the dog to break free for quite some time.
How did the dog
Just by wiggling and wiggling and wiggling. At this point, the dog was able to run up to the front porch, and as I'm walking, because I'm moving this way, to see what's going on, the dog, I could see him burrow into the corner on the porch to just be left alone. The gentleman who had the rope walks up and kind of goes down and starts going, trying to get the dog to be nice. And I'm thinking, if you've done all this to the dog and you're not scared of the dog at this point, how could anyone evenly conceivably say that you were just intimidated by this dog and that's why you did any of this to get the dog back in the backyard? There was no intimidation by this dog. So I'm just standing there. I'm not going to leave until I can see this dog put back in the backyard. Eventually, the man does sit there. He pets with the dog, and he picks the dog up, and he does eventually put the dog in the backyard, close the door. I go in the house, and I don't know what to do. Again, I don't know the neighbors that well. I'm thinking, should I call the police? I don't want to stir something up, call the police, and then have a problem with with the neighbors. So I'm thinking it's better for me to advise them first. I have to go to work, so I call my boyfriend, tell him what's going on, to please make sure that they're aware of what happened, to let them know when I come home from work, I will fill him in on the details. After I'd done that, I noticed the truck was open and I saw the phone number, so I called the number to see if I could talk to the owner of the company to tell him to please come out, and I would speak to him personally. When I called, the gentleman said that I'd have to leave my phone number, someone would have to call me back, and I wasn't comfortable with that. So I figure it's better for me to let things be until I get home to bring this out. And then that evening, that's when I went over and spoke to the Mathiases and told them what I had seen.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Monica and Joseph Mathias claim employees of contractor Glenn Matheson tortured their dog. The Mathiases say the workers hogtied their pet.
You also claim, Mr. Mathias, that the house was open.
Yes, it was.
Do you have a witness to that?
I have a witness from our mail carrier that said that she delivered...
No, you don't have a witness. If you don't
no, you're correct. I do not have a witness. I have a letter from the mail carrier. Okay, the mail carrier stated to me...
You can't tell me what the mail carrier stated.
Okay.
You can't give me a letter. I have to see a witness testify. You see, testimony is powerful. I can make a determination as to credibility, etc. There's no question that there was no property taken from your house.
I don't believe there was, no.
Good. You weren't there that day,
No, I wasn't.
so you don't know what happened.
Correct. Just from what my foreman, Bernie, just told me.
Okay. What's Bernie's last name?
Ramirez.
Mr. Ramirez, would you step up, please? You were supervising these men that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you watching them at all times?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see what happened with the dog?
Yes, I was there too. I was, when the dog came out, I
When
was
the dog
talking
came out of where?
from the yard.
How did the dog get out of the yard?
One of my workers go inside to collect the electric power, extension cord, and the dog, he leave the door open, and then that's when the dog come out.
So one of your workers allowed the dog to get out?
Right.
Were you told, sir, that there would be a dog there?
Paperwork that I provide suggests that they keep the dog at a neighbor's house or inside the house.
That's not what I asked
No,
you.
I didn't know there was a dog there.
Okay. Go ahead. So one of your workers let the dog out?
So the dog come out, and I start playing on the front of the yard, and I was talking to him by the phone, and so I saw the dog running,
Running in the front yard?
On the front yard, in and out. And then, so I'm scared because I said, well, maybe the dog is gonna go away. So I tell my workers. So two workers come out from the roof to try to put the dog inside, back in the yard. But I never saw nobody hit the dog, nobody touched the dog.
No, there was no testimony that anybody hit the dog with the hammer.
Yeah,
there was testimony that they were motioning to the dog with the hammer. Did you see the dog being tied up by the back legs?
No.
Well, that happened because there is no question in my mind that this lady is telling me the truth. Any question in your mind that the neighbor is telling me the truth, sir?
I have no idea.
Well, I know, if you have no idea, I'm going to tell you that this lady is telling me 100% truthfully that the dog was tied up by the legs and pulled in the street. And if your worker, Bernie, didn't see that, then he didn't see everything. There isn't a reason in the world that this neighbor, who doesn't know these people from a hole in the wall, would come to court and lie for her and pick up the phone and call your company to tell your company.
I've got records that she didn't call.
Oh.
I get a log of every call that comes into my office.
That somebody records.
Correct.
So nobody recorded. Just a second.
No, either name or number. They don't care. They'll record a message.
She
Whatever
wasn't leaving her name and number.
Correct. She left a message. I show no message.
That's your problem.
Well,
That's your problem.
It states that she didn't call me.
She called you.
She didn't.
Oh, yes, she did.
I don't have record of it. Every call that comes into my office
No, listen to me,
gets
sir.
recorded.
Listen to me carefully. Don't get defensive. You weren't there. Fortunately, you weren't responsible for this. But I can think of no reason why this woman, who is new to the neighborhood, would be so upset about what she saw to go outside, get the number from your truck, come inside, place a call, speak to somebody who said to her, according to her, which I believe 100%, leave me your number, somebody will call you back. She said, I'm not leaving my number, thank you very much, and she hangs up, and nobody records it in your log.
She said that they took a message to get me out to the job site.
No, that's not what she said. That's what you wanted to hear.
That's what I
What
thought.
she said was she wanted somebody to come to the job site, but they said to her, give me your name and your telephone number, and I'll have someone call you back. And she did not want to do that.
But she requested to leave a message. That message would have been taken and recorded
I didn't
and
say
sent to me.
Just to say, I heard what you said.
Correct.
You're not hearing what I'm saying?
I'm
I believe she called.
I don't believe she called.
Then that's your problem. Fortunately, I'm in charge. I don't know if Bernie is lying intentionally or if he didn't see everything or if he wasn't watching what was going on there. You think these people are trying to scam you out of a roof?
I believe they're trying quite a bit. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
No. I think that the men that you hired did not do the right thing that day, and they were very angry. Whether or not it translates into them suing you for $5,000, I don't know. But there's no question in my mind, after listening to Bernie and listening to the neighbor, that she is telling me the truth. Bernie, two things. He either did not see everything or he's lying. Because he did not put the dog back in the pen.
I've never known
He
Bernie
did
to
not
lie.
put the dog back in the pen, Bernie. She says somebody came to the front door, one of the men came to the front door and ultimately picked up the dog and put it back into the yard after they got finished doing the stupidity that they were doing to this dog.
I was told the dog was dragged back into the garage. Getting a lot of conflicting stories
Not
from
to
this
me.
side. Of course not.
Not to me.
I have.
Not to me.
I've received a number of different stories. And the dog doesn't get taken to the vet till 2.5 days, 3 days later, after I tell him, no, I'm not going to settle for this. I'm not going to take your word or your neighbor's word. I'm not going to give you a financial benefit for this. I said, what do you want? He says, I want money from you. I own your company. I want a free roof. I said, I'm not going to give you a free roof. I'll sleep on it. He sleeps on it, comes back and says, I don't want to pay your labors. You know they're lying to you. You know anyone will lie in order to get paid. Well, to this day, they haven't been paid.
Two people attached to your company did the wrong thing that day with the dog.
It wasn't proven. You have
It's
one
proof.
witness.
Just a second.
You've got
It's
the
proven
vet
to-
who says there's nothing wrong with the
Just a
dog.
sec. I didn't say that the dog was injured, sir. The dog was maltreated. The dog was
She could have
maltreated.
misconstrued what was going on in some parts, yes.
No. This lady didn't come out twice screaming because she was misconstruing what was going on.
She was concerned about how scared she was. Call the police. The police could have been there and taken care of everything. Everything would have been solved right then and there.
It's a possibility. She could have done that. She
But
could
she
have called
didn't.
the police.
So there was
Give me a reason. Think of a reason.
Why she didn't call the police?
No, think of a reason why she would lie. I can think of a reason why Bernie would lie.
Why is that?
Because he was responsible. He was the foreman on the job. He was responsible ultimately for the performance of his men and
He's
what they
performed
did.
jobs
I'm
for me for 12
speaking.
years.
I'm speaking. He was responsible ultimately for the performance. And if he came to you and said to you, I did in fact see two of my guys who didn't know what they were doing, who were just sort of fooling around with the dog, and one did put a lasso around the legs, but meant to put it around the head to get it back into the house, or he didn't see everything, or he figured, say nothing. I can
Bernie's
think of
not
a
that
reason
type
for
of
him
guy.
to lie. I can't think of a reason for her to lie.
And I can't think of a reason for him to lie.
Well, I can. So, and that's the only thing that counts. So, you have to prove damages to me, sir. What were your damages? So far, you got a $7,500 roof for nothing.
Yes, ma'am. The hardware replacement for the door locks and everything.
Listen to me. I'm not entertaining your claim for any door locks.
Okay.
Because as far as I'm concerned, they didn't do anything with regard to going into your house.
Okay, I felt in good conscience I should pay the materials for the roof. I'm not going to pay him until an officer of the court tells me to pay him for the labor.
Well, that's not...
Or anything like that.
Yeah.
The pet clinic was $31.
Let me see the vet reports.
And all the material has not been paid.
I have the receipt for
Material
that,
from
Your Honor.
ALL has been paid, but not material from my yard. Not all material came from ALL.
Your countersuit is for $4,500 for defamation of character and lost wages. The defamation of character, I assume, has to do with these people saying things about your business.
Correct. Contacting the Better Business Bureau, threatening to contact the newspaper, and degrading my company.
They are entitled to do that.
Your Honor, he's also put a lien on my house, I believe.
I have every right to lien the house. I haven't been paid for the
You're
for a job.
absolutely right. Is this lawsuit supposed to determine that?
No.
So then why am I hearing your countersuit?
It's not for the lien on the house.
Well, what is it for?
It's for loss of wages for my men for the day, loss
what
of
day?
work for today, for being here.
For today?
Correct.
Forget it. Your counterclaim's dismissed. I believe that they have a perfectly valid claim against you because I believe that the people who represent your company did the wrong thing that day. First, they negligently let the dog out of the yard. That, at least, we know from Bernie. And after that, Bernie told them to go and take care of it. Then one of them dragged the dog across the property, not even the property, not even the grass, but into the street,
With
in
no
the gravel.
damages to the dog.
What?
No injury to the dog. After all this horrendous treatment of the animal.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $5,000. You're pretty thick.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 492 on the calendar in the matter of Smoot versus Andres Rentalin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Andreas is the apartment manager of an apartment complex where your girlfriend lives. She is a tenant, is that right?
That's correct.
And you also live there, even though you're not on the lease?
Yes, I've been living there for over a year and a half now, Your Honor.
But you're not on the lease?
No.
According to your complaint, Mr. Andreas was having your car towed by the defendant, and you came home to find your car up being loaded onto a flatbed truck or a car that you were working on. It wasn't your car. And an altercation took place, and as a result of that altercation, you were arrested. You claim you were falsely arrested. So you are suing both defendants for having you falsely arrested. Is that what this case is about?
As well as the loss of the car, Your Honor. That's correct.
And ultimately, this car was, in fact, towed and was sold.
That's correct.
How long had this car been parked at the apartment complex?
For 2 days, Your Honor.
Is that correct, Mr. Andreas?
No, that's not correct. It was parked there on 2 different occasions.
When for the first time was it parked there?
It was the beginning of the new year.
And how long was it there then?
I would say at least 3 days. I almost had it towed before.
Now, why did you almost have it towed the first time, sir?
Because I had informed Mr. Smoot that it was tenant parking only.
When did you first inform him of that?
Before the new year. He had a truck parked there, and I asked that it be removed. It was unregistered.
Okay. Whose truck was that, sir?
I had borrowed a truck, okay, because I'm an auto mechanic by trade, and sometimes I have different vehicles when I come home from work. I parked probably 5 or 6 different vehicles there while Jeff was the manager. But on this
there
one,
came a time when there was a problem, Mr. Smoot.
yeah, there was a problem. And I don't understand it, why there was a problem, because of the fact that, first of all, I brought a witness with me, Norma, which is the tenant that resides in number 18, that gave me permission to use her unoccupied stall. I also have a letter here from the property owner, and I can let her read the letter. The letter was
Just a minute. Did you ever see a copy of this letter?
No, ma'am. No, Your Honor.
Not to mention the fact that he was also terminated as the manager for not getting along with the other tenants in the building. I also have a letter of the change.
Has nothing to do with this.
That's not correct, Your Honor.
What do you mean, what's not correct?
I called the owner after the incident, and I asked, did he give permission? And he said, no, he didn't. He had instructed the tenant in number 20 to deal with me on the vehicle.
Whatever.
That's a lie.
I mean, I'm not taking this letter as gospel because it is just a letter. His letter is not sworn deposition. Just curious as to what he said. All right, but Mr. Smoot, you were told by the apartment manager that he didn't want these cars that you were fixing back and forth on the property. That would be a fair statement?
No, that would not be a fair statement, Your Honor.
Well, let me ask you this question. Are you a tenant in that building?
Well, I live there.
No. You're not on the lease. You're not in anybody's lease.
I'm not on the lease. That is correct,
You're not on the lease.
Your Honor.
So you are not a tenant.
No.
Is there a sign on the property that says parking for tenants only?
Not that I'm aware of, Your Honor.
Yes.
I have a photograph that,
Let me see it.
that shows the sign right by...
Of course, there would be a sign that say tenants parking only. Anyway, there was a problem, and he decided to have your car towed. What happened when you came home and found your car being towed, Mr. Smoot? It wasn't your car, by the way. It was a car that you were fixing.
Yes, the car was operable. The only reason that the vehicle was parked inside of the stall is because the vehicle was not legal to have it on the street. And so I asked Mrs. Norma Wilt, my witness, if it was okay to park the vehicle there until I had a time to get the vehicle taken out and take it to the shop so that I can perform the services
So
on
you
it.
were, just a second, so you were really using this property as part of your business?
No. If I
Sure you were.
If I park a
No,
vehicle?
you were. You were using this as part of your business. This was not your car. You were, in fact, storing it for business purposes until you could work on it. This was not your personal car for your personal use. It was a business car, and it shouldn't have been there. I don't care whose permission you have. It should not have been there. What happens, for instance, if this vehicle was dangerous for some reason and exploded? Let's say somebody was injured as a result of something that happened because of that car. Who do you think would be responsible? Who would be responsible, Mr. Smoot?
I would probably say the property owner.
That is exactly right.
But we had permission. I had permission from the
No, you did not. No. I don't believe that you had permission from the property owner, sir. I have no evidence that you had permission from the property owner. The property owner's not here.
No, but Miss Dolores Harris is.
No, Miss Dolores Harris is a tenant. She is not the property owner. And if something happened as a result of that car being there, she would not be responsible. The owner of the building would be responsible because they permitted that vehicle to be there. If that vehicle spewed oil all over the place and that oil caught fire somehow and there was damage or somebody was injured, it is the owner of the premises that would be responsible, not this lady who gave you permission to park the car there. She had no right to give you permission to engage in a business in her parking space. In any event, I'm telling you, just in case you think you're 100% right, you're not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David Smoot claims Jeff Andrews and John Rintalin had him falsely arrested. John says David tried to run him over in a car.
Now let's get back to, you come home and you find your car being towed. What happened?
I came through the fence and I said, Jeff, what are you doing? I said, you know how I make a living? I said, I make a living on working on cars. And I said, this vehicle doesn't even belong to me. I said, why are you going to tow the vehicle? I said, I can't afford to pay for this guy's vehicle and pay for it to get it out of impound and stuff like that. And he said, I told you that you had until the end of the day to get it out of here. And I said, but it's not the end of the day. It's only 1:30 or so. That's why I came home from lunch to get the vehicle to take it off so that it wasn't going to create a problem. And he said, I don't care. He goes, I'm towing it away anyways. And so I proceeded to jump in the car. The tow truck driver was probably about 15 yards away, 20 yards away from the car. And what happened is that he had jumped...
No, just a second. You're going to get a chance to tell me your version of the events.
He had jumped in the tow truck, and I had gotten in the car. And so the tow truck is kind of like at an angle, and I'm trying to back out, and then he just gets real close to the back of the vehicle, trying to like block me in. And then Jeff comes around and starts like punching through the window, trying to get me out of the car. And he's like hitting me on the side of my head and stuff like that while the car is running. I had the car running, and it wasn't really running that good, and it's a stick shift. I had the thing in reverse, and he's like trying to pull me out of the car, and this thing is idling.
Just a second, please. You're going to have an opportunity. Don't interrupt again.
Yes, Your Honor. It's like idling, and he's like trying to pull me out of the car, and my foot like lunged off of the clutch while it was in reverse, and it just kind of like jumped back. And then all of a sudden, I just hear like a screaming noise from his wife, and they're saying, do you have any insurance? Do you have any insurance? Call the police, call the police. We just, he tried to run us over. He tried to run us over. And they were trying to say that his leg was hurt. And when the police got there, they came and they took a little tiny red little irritation mark or something on a picture, a photo, and they asked him if he wanted to go to the hospital. He said no. At the same time while this was happening, just prior to that, I said, I'm going to go call the police myself. And so as I attempted to go down the hallway at my apartment, the police were right there, and they arrested me. And I said, I'm the one you're looking for, because I wanted to call the police, but they were there, and they turned me around and they arrested me for.
You got it? You got all this, Bert?
I got all that.
They said assault with a deadly weapon. So these guys, Your Honor, I know the guy. You know, I never had nothing against him, but he's a white supremacist. You know, he's got tattoos all over him. you know, and...
Don't go there. Don't listen to me.
I'm just saying.
Don't go there.
I went to jail, they lied. I had a felony, I was looking at 1 year. I was looking at 1 year in jail, okay? I missed about 17 days on a jury trial, okay? I was finally found not guilty, okay? And I missed all types...
But you went to trial, is that correct? At the end of the people's case, was the case dismissed or did you put on a case? Did you testify yourself?
I testified myself.
Then you presented a case. So the case was not dismissed after the people's case. Is that right?
I was found not guilty.
You're not following my question because you're just resisting it? There are two parts of a case. Don't you watch television?
Okay.
The district attorney presents their case.
Right.
And at the end of that case, the defendant, if the defendant wishes, presents their case.
Yes.
At the end of the people's case, the judge finds that there is insufficient evidence to support any kind of a verdict. The judge will direct a verdict for the defendant and dismiss the case. If there is sufficient evidence to go forward, then the judge hears the defendant's case. And then after that entire case, the judge has to make a decision beyond a reasonable doubt whether the allegations are true. Just because you were found not guilty doesn't mean you're not guilty. Just doesn't mean that they were not satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that you were guilty. Do you understand the difference?
I understand.
All right. Now you've told your story. By the way, who got nicked with the car?
I did, Your Honor.
All right. So then I'm going to start with you, sir. You want to tell me you're called there to tow the truck?
We were called by Mr. Andrews to tow a vehicle, and I had my truck right up to the back of the vehicle that I was going to tow away. And that's when this gentleman over here jumped over the fence and came running up to the car, screaming and yelling, "What are you doing taking my car? You ain't taking it?" And yes, he is. You ain't. It went on like this for a while. This was the guy that signed the paperwork that I had, the permission that he wants me to take this off the property, this paper here. And I said, "Well, am I taking it?" He goes, "Yes, take it." Okay. So I went to hook it up underneath the vehicle. I reached down, I go into the car to hook it up, and all of a sudden this car starts up and comes back on me, and I'm under the car hooking it up. And so I jumped up out of the way, and as I come up out of the way, this gentleman here running around the front of the car and pulled him off from the driver's seat because he was running, and his wife screamed, "Oh my God, he ran over the tow truck driver."
Okay. Now, before you hook up the car, did you see Mr. Andreas go over to the plaintiff at all? Was there any altercation in the car at all?
No, Your Honor. Mr. Andrews was standing to the rear of the car to my right, and they're arguing about taking the car, not taking the car.
And how far away were they from each other when they were arguing?
The car is between them.
Okay, the car was between them at that point.
Oh, yeah.
And he was not in the car at that point?
Not even.
So he got in the car as you went to hook it up?
I don't know when he got in the car, Your Honor. I was under the car, then I hear the car start up. I didn't see him get in the car. So he was still standing up. I went under the car, then he jumped in the car, I assume, started it up, proceeded to back up on me. I jumped out of the way, and that's when he ran around.
So you saw him run around at that point?
As I was coming back up from behind the car, yes, Your Honor.
Now, I'd like to see a copy of the police report.
I have that. I brought
I'd
that
like
for
to
you
see
today.
it, please. The police report and the police at the scene noted injuries to the defendant, Mr. Rintalin, minor injuries, but injuries to the leg consistent with being hit by the car that you were driving. The police officer examined your entire head area where you had claimed that you were repeatedly punched.
Just hit on the side.
No, you said repeatedly punched is what you said. The police officer who examined you found absolutely no evidence of any bruises, marks, or anything else, and there were no visible injuries anywhere. So, Mr. Smoot, let me tell you what I believe happened, sir. I believe that perhaps Mr. Andreas acted precipitously. He had told you before not to park your business cars there. You did, and maybe he just decided he had had enough. Whatever it is, he didn't give you till the end of the day. You came home and you were furious.
That's not true.
I don't care what you say, sir. Why don't you listen to me now?
Okay.
I'm speaking, sir.
Okay.
You came, you saw the car being towed, you were furious that it was being towed. I do not believe that Mr. Andreas punched you at any time other than trying to get you out of the car after you had hit this gentleman here with the car.
That's not true. Okay.
So, you don't like my ruling? There is no appeal. The district attorney believed that you, in fact, acted improperly when you got into that car and attempted to move it when somebody was attempting to do their job and hook it up to be towed. You have an alternative, Mr. Smoot, and your alternative was they tow the car to a lot at that time. If you feel as if you have been wronged, you deal with it. But what you did was you started a confrontation, and as a result of that confrontation, he could have been seriously injured because you were hot and you were not looking where he was when you got into that car.
That's not true, Your Honor. That's not
Oh,
true.
yes, it is, sir.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is, sir.
That's not
Listen
true.
to me. Put your hand down.
That's not true.
I don't care what you say, sir. I'm telling you it's true. You weren't concerned about anybody's safety at that point but the car.
I work on cars, and I know what a vehicle would do when you put a vehicle in reverse and then actually try running over a person.
Then what were you doing in the car, sir?
Because I was moving.
No. What were you doing in the car?
I was going to move the car. The tow truck was not in position to have the vehicle.
Then how did he get hit? He wasn't.
He wasn't hit.
Oh, yes, he was.
I have.
Oh, yes, he was.
He was trying to make money out of this deal. Okay.
No, sir. Let me ask you this question. Mr. Smoot, hey, quiet. Did they sue you?
Did who sue me? These guys?
Pay attention to my question.
Okay.
Did he sue you?
No, but
Just a second.
No, he did not.
Well, if he did not sue you, sir, then he was not trying to make money off this situation.
Because he found out that there wasn't any insurance on that unregistered vehicle. That was the first thing that came out of his mouth.
Just a second. He could sue you.
That's true.
You work.
Right.
He doesn't have to sue the person whose vehicle it was. He could sue you. So, if he didn't sue you, then he's not the one trying to make money off of this situation. You are.
I'm trying to recoup my bail money from these guys lying to the police.
It's not going to happen, Mr. Smoot.
Okay.
You acted improperly.
I don't.
When you came there and saw your car in a situation where it was being towed, you could have done several things. You could have called 911 and called the police and say, please respond immediately. Someone is stealing my car.
And I tried, but they had already called the police and they lied.
No, Mr. Smoot, hey, please. I'm 10 steps ahead of you, sir. Before you jumped over the fence and got in the car, you did not attempt to call the police. I'm telling you, before this incident started to escalate, when you saw your car being towed, you get on the phone and you call the police and you say, somebody is stealing my car. You didn't do that. You didn't do that. You were hot. You were hot. There's no question you were hot, and maybe you had a right to be hot. But you precipitated the altercation over a car where somebody could have gotten seriously hurt. And for that, sir, you do not get rewarded. The case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. 4:30 on the calendar in the matter of Williams versus Aguilar.
Thank you very much.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Williams, according to your complaint, you and the defendant had sort of an off-again, on-again relationship for about 5 years.
Right, correct.
And sometime in September of 2000, the defendant was arrested, and you posted bail for her in the amount of $245.
Correct.
And you want her to pay back the bail money.
Right.
The defendant says she never asked you to post the bail for her. How were you contacted and advised that she had been arrested?
Well, like I said, off and on since '96, me and Miss Aguilar.
Just a second. Very slowly, and speak up, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. We had like a little relationship going at that time, and then she came to me with her problems, and she said she'd been in jail, and I said, I would like to know what's the problem was, and she was telling me that she'd been in jail, she hated it, she was there for a while. So then I said, well, okay, if you get in trouble like that again, you could just go ahead and just call me. I'll post bail for you, only if you pay me back. So,
baloney! What kind of ridiculousness is that, Mr. Williams?
I never...
Just a second. Mr. Williams, if you're going to tell me the truth, you can't give me a baloney story.
Well,
according to the story you just gave me, you were in a relationship, she told you she had been in trouble before, she told you she had been in jail before, and you said to her, and she wasn't in jail at the time, you were sitting talking in your living room. If you ever get into trouble like that again, you call me and tell me, and I will post bail for you as long as you pay me back.
Prior before that, yes.
Mr. Williams.
No, I'm sorry. I said I'll post, her bail. No, I'll bail her out of jail if she get in a problem like that again. Prior before that, her friend called me telling me that she was in jail.
Just a minute. Let's get the time she was arrested, Mr. Williams. She was arrested. Who called you?
Her friend, Alexis.
What did her friend say to you?
Well, she told me that Jennifer was in jail and she wanted me to post bail for her.
For Jennifer?
Right.
And you said?
And I said, only if she paid me back. And she said, yes, she would pay me back. She would come to work the next day and give me the money. So I was like, okay, cool.
So you went and you posted bail?
Posted her bail, right.
When was the next time you saw her?
Next time I seen her was in 2000. I think it was in July when she was pregnant with my baby. That's what she said.
So you didn't see her the next day?
No.
Or the day after that?
No.
Or the month after that?
No.
You didn't see her for 10 months, right?
No. The next time I seen her, I just heard that she was pregnant with my baby. So.
And how did that come about?
She was pregnant at this time, and like I said, we had an on and off relationship.
So the next time you saw her, you found out that she had just had a baby?
Right. And she don't let me see her or nothing like that.
Your Honor, that's
just a second.
lie.
All right, so now you want your bail money back.
Not just that, but I want visitation rights. I want to see, Zara Neek. I only seen her only 4 times throughout all of this.
All right, well, I'll get to that in a second.
2000.
Alexis asked him to post bail for you. What were you incarcerated for?
In September 2000, I had a domestic violence case, which then I had a warrant at the same time.
You were arrested for domestic violence and another warrant dropped on you?
Correct.
Domestic violence involving who?
My other partner, which was Alma.
Who?
It's another female.
Now, who is Alexis?
Well, Alexis is Alma. It's the same person.
So Alexis complained that you had assaulted her, and after you were taken away and arrested, Alexis called him and asked him to bail you out.
Apparently that's the way it happened. I didn't know that she was going to go look for him and tell him that I was in jail. I was in jail. I ended up getting posted out, which was
great. And then you never asked Alexis, how did your bail get posted?
No.
No, answer me honestly. Shh. Mr. Williams.
At that time, at the time that I got bailed, I was speaking to my mom on the phone and stuff to see if they could get me out. I was under the circumstances that I wasn't going to get out, so I thought I was going to stay in there until I seen the magistrate.
Ms. Aguilar, I want you to pay careful attention to my question. When you get bailed out, you see Alexis. A natural question is, did you post the bail for me? That would be what a normal person would say. You're not an abnormal person, are you?
No.
So you would say, who posted the bail for me? And Alexis told you who posted the bail for you.
Yes, she did.
Of course. And what did she say?
She told me that she had gotten a hold of Dontriel and that he had offered to get me out of jail.
Okay. Fine. That's honest.
Yes.
Don't give me baloney about calling your mother and asking your mother and you don't know. That's an honest scenario of what happens.
Correct.
You get out, you say, who posted this bail? Who sprung me?
Correct.
Alexis said, he did.
Correct.
Now, you were pregnant when you went to jail?
At that time in September, I didn't know that I was pregnant.
I didn't ask you whether you didn't know. I asked you, were you pregnant at that time?
Yes, I was.
And you've had a child?
Yes, I have.
A boy or a girl?
A girl. She's 9 months now.
Now, there came a time, according to the papers that I read, that you contacted Mr. Williams and told him that it was his child.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because I should have done it earlier, but at the time before I had her, I wasn't sure with myself if I was going to be able to raise her right, so I wasn't sure of keeping her.
So you decided not to tell him?
Exactly.
Now,
3 months after I had her, we met. I let him know that he can see her anytime. I've given him that opportunity.
No, that's not
correct.
correct.
It worked. He's seen her a few times, and then supposedly his stepdad told him that it was all about the money, that the baby wasn't his or something. And so then at that time, he verbally gave up his rights to her. And then he asked for a blood test.
Verbally? How verbally did he give up his rights to her?
He didn't believe it was his, and he didn't want nothing to do with her.
No. He asked for a blood test. Right.
Okay. My partner and him went to the place to go get a blood test done. They couldn't get the baby her poke very well. She was still little, and it's hard to get pokes on babies. So they stopped it. They didn't pursue it. I then told him, if she comes back negative and she's not his, I'll pay for it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dontrell Williams says ex-girlfriend Jennifer Aguilar owes for an unpaid loan for bail.
All right, Mr. Williams, with regard to your lawsuit, you never had an agreement with the defendant to pay you back the money for bail. Your agreement, if there was any agreement, and I don't think there was with this Alexis person. In order for there to be a debt created, you have to have an arrangement with the person who you claim owes you the money. You had no agreement with her, so I can't give you your $245 back. If Alexis promised to pay you back the money, go after Alexis. And Alexis may then, I'm speaking, and Alexis may then go after the defendant. But you never had an agreement with her to pay you back. So that takes care of that. But I'm going to give you some advice now. If you are legitimately interested in pursuing a relationship as the father of this child, then what you do is you have to go to court and you file a petition to be legally declared the father of this child, and you ask for a blood test.
I was trying to do that, but she would never give me the opportunity.
She doesn't give you the opportunity, sir.
She never let me see the girl. So.
No, Mr. Williams, you're fighting me, sir. I'm telling you that in order to establish rights, your right under the law, you have to go to court and be legally declared the father of the child. You're fading off, sir.
Okay.
Pay attention to me. This is the most expensive advice you're going to get for free. Do you understand?
Yes.
You go to court. They will direct a blood test. You will have to pay for the blood test. She will be ordered to produce the child for the blood test. That will establish once and for all whether or not you are the father of this child.
Sorry.
Then they will decide what kind of either custody or visitation you should have, and they will fix a support order so that you can help support your daughter. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's what you have to do. That way you don't have to rely on her saying, well, today you can see her and tomorrow you can't. That way you have an order.
She moved by every 6 months, so I can never really catch up with her.
Well, you know where she is now, sir.
No, I don't.
Where are you now?
I'm in Greeley.
It's the same place he lives.
I got evicted because...
Where are you now?
18th Street.
So then I would very, very quickly, Mr. Williams, go to court. You serve her with the summons. You'll take your daughter for the blood test, correct?
I have no problem taking her.
Good. And then everybody will have their rights outlined. Do you understand, Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Goodbye.
Excuse, you may step out.
You gotta watch who you trust.
I think it was fair.
I feel like I was taking advantage. She deceived me over the years, saying that, you know, this and that.
He knows I'm in another relationship, and we will never work.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Luff versus Barker. Step forward, please.
27-year-old homemaker Jennifer Luff is suing her second cousin, truck driver David Barker, and his wife Margaret Barker for the return of her great-grandfather's trailer. The Barkers have a countersuit for storage fees.
Miss Luff, it is your claim that a trailer that is currently on the defendant's property belongs to you and you want it back.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendants say that if you can prove that the trailer is yours, they will return it to you, and then they are counterclaiming for $900 in storage fees that they feel is proper for storing this trailer if it belongs to you. Are you related to each other?
Yes.
How are you related?
David is my mother's cousin.
Oh, where did this trailer come from?
It was bought from my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and it was placed on the defendant's property because
It was bought for your great-grandfather?
Yes.
By whom?
By my son's father, my uncle, and my sister's ex-husband.
When did they purchase it for him?
I'm not sure.
When did it come onto your property?
99.
It was July of 1999.
How did it come to be on your property?
My grandfather had his own house in Lake County, and we talked him into, when my grandmother died, my cousin and everybody pitched in and bought the trailer so he could be closer to us.
When did he pass away?
In November of 1999.
What makes you think this trailer belongs to you?
Because I spoke with my uncle, who had part in buying it, my son's father, and my sister's ex-husband, and they gave it over to me. It's in, I have the title in my name. They gave it over to me.
Let me see it.
To sell it because my son's father gave me his share in it, and my uncle does not live here. So they gave it to me to sell, and I have to give them shares.
In whose name had the trailer been in?
The people who originally owned it, my sister's ex-husband had it.
4 people.
It had never been in their names, though. It was never switched over.
How did you register this?
I just took the title down there that they had signed.
Well, let me see.
I don't have that. I gave it to the tag office, and then I signed the title, and they sent that back to me.
Did you show this to the defendants?
No, I did not, because at the time I had only been given a receipt of change of title, and I showed that to the defendants when I tried to go get the travel trailer.
Okay, would you show this to the defendants, please?
Can I explain now pretty much?
No, just, I want you to look at that. Okay. So this clearly is a deed to that trailer.
I guess so.
Okay. Now,
we
so
were
now
never
I'll let
showed
you,
that.
Now tell me.
Okay, pretty much what happened was, like she said, we moved the trailer on our property of July of 1999. Grandpa passed away of November of 1999. The trailer was on our property for almost 2 years without anybody coming over and saying they want this trailer or anything. June of 2000, her boyfriend, it's the father of one of her children, borrowed my son's car, and he got into an accident with it. He smashed it up. He totaled out my son's car. I put a judgment against him, which I have papers that I settled the judgment with him. Ever since then, we've been harassed for the trailer.
Go ahead.
When I sued her boyfriend, that was it. She was harassing us, making threats to us.
She wants the trailer.
Exactly.
So give her the trailer. She's the registered owner of the trailer.
But she never claimed it 2 years before that. That's what I'm saying.
That's not true.
That may be. That may be. And I don't know what took her so long, and quite frankly.
Can I explain why?
If you must.
What took so long is because about a month after my grandfather died, my cousin, David's son, came to me and said that he had nowhere to stay, and could he stay in the trailer. That's the only reason it hasn't been moved in all this time, because he was staying there and paying them $75 a week. That's why I didn't think I owed them storage.
When was this title turned over to you?
The date?
Not until after...
Just a minute.
It didn't have anything to do with the accident.
In September of 2001.
Okay, which is when about a month after my sister moved in with me.
The date of issue, September of 2001. Prior to that, it was titled to some other relative.
No, it was titled to the original owners. Were not a relative.
They promised to put it in my grandfather's name.
No, we never promised
and they
that.
never did. Yes,
we
they
never
did.
promised
Just
that.
a second. But it was titled to somebody else.
Right.
Nobody ever put their name in it. My sister's ex-husband just had an open title in his safe and had never changed the title over. So when he gave it to me, I changed it over right away. I put it in my name.
Drug addicts
Just
anyway.
a second. Did they have a bill of sale from the owner?
Yes, they did.
Where is it?
That's at home. I did not bring that.
Shady.
So whose name did you put on these documents that enabled them to give you this certificate of title?
They had already signed the title over to me. It was an old title. They had signed the back of the title.
Who had signed it?
The original owners.
No.
When did they sign it?
They signed it when it was first purchased.
I see. So they just signed it over to...
Yes, and nobody ever signed purchaser.
Oh, okay. Anybody could put their name on it. That's right. And they told you could put your name on it.
Yes, my
And title
brother-in-law, it was in his possession, and he gave it over to me.
Okay. Now, she has a certificate of title that on its face is valid.
Correct.
She is entitled to it. She did not become entitled to it until September of 2001 on the date the title was issued. Do you understand that?
Yes.
We're clear so far?
Yes.
After September of 2001, did you make any claim for storage of the trailer?
Yes, I did.
When?
I filed a countersuit on her, but it wasn't. It was on.
It was after they got my
It
suit.
was right.
No, I'm talking about before that.
No.
Before you got this lawsuit, the papers for this lawsuit served on you, did you ever say,
No,
look,
we
Yeah, we
didn't.
unless you
had-
get this trailer off my property?
Right. But I talked to her on September 3rd because she'd been threatening my wife, telling other neighbors that she was going to take her glasses off and smack her. And she said that she was going to sell the trailer to some guy and take payments for $2,500. And I told her that I feel that everybody that put money in that trailer should get money out of it. I told her, I said, I know somebody would give $3,000 at least and give you cash. The next day, I went to work, and she comes there to take the trailer off the
It
property
was on Friday, September 5th.
with me not there.
At 5 p.m. That was her first and one and only attempt to try to retrieve the trailer off of our property. No warning. I've come to get my trailer. And I said, no, you're not. My daughter was a witness. My girlfriend was a witness saying
It's
that...
not necessary.
Right.
Look.
Well, just to say that I did tell her when she can make it convenient for everybody, you can come back and get the trailer.
This is just clearly an issue of title, and I must go based upon the title.
Right.
The title to this trailer
understand.
Right.
rests in her.
That's
Right.
fine.
She has to get it off your property.
Right.
She has 5 days to get it off your property.
Okay, well, I have pictures here to show that it's difficult just to yank this trailer off of our property. That was the other issue that occurred on September 5th, is because it's not that easy just to come in there, and we have to make an arrangement. You can't just come in there and hook up this trailer and go down the road with it.
No, so we're going to fix a date.
Okay, well,
What date do you want them to come and move the trailer?
Well, he's going back on the road to go back to work pretty soon.
You want to do it Thursday or Friday?
Friday.
All right, the court will draft an order indicating that on Friday at 12 noon, the trailer will be moved off the property. Understood?
Yes,
Your
ma'am.
counterclaim is dismissed because there has to be an agreement for storage before there could be
Right,
storage
that's
fees, and
fine.
there was no agreement. Thank you, that's all.
Thanks.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 589 on the calendar in the matter of Clymer versus Culp. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mrs. Clymer, is this your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just wanted to know who the players were. According to your complaint, the defendant, who is the current girlfriend of your soon-to-be ex-husband,
Yes, ma'am.
drove your car without permission when you weren't home one weekend and blew the engine on the car. You want her to replace the engine.
Yes.
There is a counterclaim by Ms. Culp for defamation. She says that you've been spreading nasty rumors about her. So, when were you and your husband married?
December 14th, 1999.
So it's a short-term marriage.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have no children together.
No, we do not.
Do you have any children of your own?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
28 and 25.
So they don't live with you?
No, they don't.
Mr. Clymer, does he have children?
Yes, he does.
Were they living with you at the time
Yes,
that
they
you
are.
were together?
Yes.
How old are they?
17 and 15.
When did this incident happen with the car?
Approximately on a Saturday. I left town.
What date?
I think it was around the 28th.
Of what month?
December.
Now, on December 28th, were you and your husband still living together
Yes,
as man
ma'am,
and
we
wife?
were. 2 days after Christmas. And then I left town to take my $2 back to Emmett and visit my mom.
Okay, so on the 27th, you had had a discussion with him about divorcing. I assume that that didn't come as a shock to you.
Yes, it did, ma'am.
It did?
Yes, it did.
You didn't know anything was wrong?
No, I did not.
Did you ask him why?
Yes, I did.
What did he say?
Because I didn't make him Rice Krispie bars. I didn't go to church. And just ridiculous comments why he wanted a divorce.
So you got in your car and you left?
Well, that following morning I left.
So you left on the 28th?
Yeah, I think it was Friday morning. Yeah.
When did you return home?
Sunday evening.
Okay, and according to your complaint, when you returned home, the defendant was there.
Yes, ma'am.
Had you known her before?
No, I do not. I don't even know who she is.
She's never laid eyes on me before today, Your Honor.
Should I get down to the...
No, I don't want to. You found her in your house?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what did you do when you found her in your house?
I went to the police station and asked her if she would be removed from my premises.
And they said?
It was community property and...
Right, and he could have any guests that he wanted in the house.
That's right.
Now, when you were married in 1999, was this your house or was it your husband's house?
No, ma'am, we just bought this house a week prior to this incident.
Really?
Yes, we did.
And it's in both your names?
It's in his name, but the money that went in this house came from my house in Emmett that I sold.
How much money?
Around $9,000.
How much was the house?
$59,000.
Why didn't you have the house put in both names? I'm just curious.
They said, I even asked him at the time, I said, is my name going to be on the deed? And they said, well, it's community property estate. You are still reliable for this house. And I says, I want to know. I want my name on that deed,
How old are
too.
you?
48.
The last house, the house that you sold, was that in your name?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Were you married at the time you had that house to someone else?
No. I bought that singly.
Okay, so you know about putting your name on a deed?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I even asked the realtor, I said, I would like to have my name on that deed. They said, it doesn't matter. You know.
Okay. All right. You're currently going through a divorce. Your husband is in the house?
No, I am in the house.
You're in the house now?
Yes.
So he had other place to go?
Yes, he did.
Fine. All right, now tell me about this car. You drove a car while you were there for that weekend.
Yes, I did.
Why?
The car belongs to Bob's daughter. I was driving the car because it needed to be serviced. Martha was out of town. Therefore, she couldn't drive the car. I left Athena the keys to my vehicle so she could go to work. She handed me her keys to her vehicle, which I in turn went to go pick him up from work to take the car to be serviced and then return it to Athena's work so that I could trade my car back. The car never made it past Kimberly Road, which is approximately 3 miles from the destination.
Okay. Mrs. Clymer, what kind of car is this? So I can...
It's a 95 Kia Sophia.
Was that your stepdaughter's car?
We give it to her to drive back and forth to work and also back and forth to school.
So it was a gift to your stepdaughter?
Yes.
Martha, Your Honor does not even have a set of keys to this car.
It was a gift to your stepdaughter. You can't sue her. It's a gift. You made a gift to your stepdaughter, you and your husband. That car belongs to the child, and I assume that if the car is going to be fixed, it's going to be fixed by him. So don't take out your anger on him against your stepdaughter. That's ridiculous. So get over that. Let's get to your counterclaim. Your counterclaim is that Mrs. Clymer is telling people around town that you broke up her marriage and you're a homewrecker.
Yes, it is.
Well, that's true.
I'm not sure.
Truth is a perfect defense. You
Your
know,
Honor,
you got to
their
wait
marriage
until
was
the
already-
body is cold.
Your Honor, their marriage was over before I even came into the picture.
I
I
didn't
didn't
know
even
that.
know
That's what he
Robert
told you.
Clymer.
Listen
I
to
didn't
me.
even know Robert Clymer until October of this last year.
Listen to me. She was living there up until December 25th, right?
Yes.
He was living there up until December 25th, right?
Yes.
She goes away on December 28th, and you come over. That's 3 days. That doesn't mean the marriage is over. That means he may have told you that the marriage was over, but you knew you couldn't call the house. You didn't call the house there prior to that time, did you?
They don't have a home phone.
You didn't go over there to visit, did you, before
No.
that time?
I did come into town, yes. I
Okay,
knew
whether you went
the
into
whole
town,
family before I even met him.
Listen to me. He would meet you elsewhere, and you still knew that he was living together with his wife.
Yes.
So this is a bit more interesting than not making Rice Krispie balls.
You're right.
Says her estranged husband's girlfriend, Renee Culp, drove her car without permission and blew up the engine.
All right. So truth is a perfect defense. And you probably did have something to do with the termination of the marriage. He found somebody else that made better Rice Krispies anyway. But that doesn't mean that she can't go around town telling people that you wrecked her home, because in her mind you did, and probably had something to do with it. So your counterclaim is dismissed. Give him back the car. Sign it over to him. Do you understand? Good. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She is hostile and upset of the fact that I am now seeing her husband.
Coming home and finding those two in bed, and,
Can you prove that it was me? She never even saw my face before today, and her allegation of catching us in bed, she's wrong.
Stand up for your rights.
Be careful.
Don't listen to your ex-husband.
I just want it all over with.
And now the next case.
All parties on Dorr versus Dykstra. Step forward, please.
40-year-old homemaker Diane Dorr is suing her former landlord, 50-year-old engineer Richard Dykstra, for disposing of her personal property, the return of her security deposit, and emotional distress.
Ms. Dorr, the defendant was your landlord.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, he evicted you, and you want him to return your security deposit, which I think was $700. You claim that he disposed of property of yours, and you also were suing him for $500 for your stress. So let me get some facts. When did you commence a lease with Mr. Dykstra?
July of '99.
And what was your rent?
$650.
$650 a month?
Yeah.
Okay, and you agree with that, Mr. Dykstra, that you put down that security deposit?
I agree.
And when were you served with an eviction notice?
On April 4th, 2001.
Do you have a copy of that?
I sure do.
I'd like to see it, please.
He left it on the gate. I don't know that that matters, but I don't have a problem with moving out anyway. Pretty much lived through hell
Just
there.
one moment. So you gave a 30 days notice effective 4/4/01?
That's when I filed with the Sheriff's Department, and the Sheriff did not deliver this until the 9th of April, and I took that into account with the 30-day period.
So you were to be out of the apartment by May 9th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Were you out on or before May 9th?
Apparently, he says I wasn't. He went over there, and I would lie to you if I told you the date. I wasn't there because I was pregnant and not allowed to be out of bed. I begged the man.
What do you mean I'm not allowed to be out of bed?
I wasn't supposed to be out of bed.
Just a minute. So where were you?
I was at the new place.
So you moved out to a new place. When did you move out?
I started within 3 weeks of that notice after trying to beg him for a month extra. He would not give it to me. He wouldn't give me a reason. I said, fine, I'm just going to go. I can't handle this. Figured I'd clean the place, get everything out, right? I'm at the new place going back and forth to the hospital. I hired somebody to come in and clean it.
Okay, just 1 second. So let me understand this. You did, in fact, move out prior to May the 9th.
Yes.
Physically, you physically.
Physically. I left
But you
when he
left-
attacked me and my children. Not physically. I left because of that. Yes, I did. He cussed me out, and I left. I was
Fine.
afraid.
Good. So you left, and is what you're saying is that there was property of yours left after May 9th in the apartment?
No, I believe it was before that. After May 9th, I never went back. He locked the doors on May 9th. Changed
Good.
the locks.
Now, is the property that you're complaining of that was disposed of by the defendant property that was there at the time he changed the locks on May 9th?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you're not entitled to that back. Stuff that's considered abandoned. So we've just dealt with that. Now, you said you hired a cleaning crew.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
You weren't at the house on May 9th?
Not, I might have been there once. I wasn't there when he came in and pushed them out and changed the lock. I was not
That
there.
was on May 9th?
Yeah.
On the date that you were supposed to be out?
Mm-hmm.
And you still had people cleaning in the apartment?
Yeah.
So he said what?
Your Honor, she paid for the month of April. Okay, so that was covered. That wasn't the problem. Starting May 1st, there was no rent being paid. I gave her to the 9th, actually to the 10th, and so I was losing $20 a day at this point.
He had $700 in
Just
deposit.
a second. Go. Speak.
So after I saw the progress her so-called cleaning crew was making, which was very, very slow, I have pictures here, Your Honor, and I'd like you to take a look at
So
of the house.
Miss Dorr,
And,
Miss Dorr, listen to me very carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't want to display erratic kind of behavior, do you?
Okay. No.
You are.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I have pictures of the house, and the cleaning crew was moving very, very slow.
You mean
So-
on May, do you have pictures of the house on May 9th or May 10th?
Yes.
I see them, please.
And rather than lose $20 a day and wait for these people to do what they were doing very slowly, I thought it was in the best interest of myself to just perform the cleaning myself. So I asked them to leave. I said, that's fine. It's a good enough job. Just go on your way.
Now, Mr. Dykstra, are these the two sofas that she claims that were left behind?
Yes, ma'am. Anything that was left in the house at that period, I moved out into the garage. I did change all the locks on the house, but I allowed them access to the garage until everything was taken out of that garage.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Did they take these
Yes,
two
they did.
couches? They did?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
As you could see, if there was any cleaning done, it's not apparent in the pictures.
Maybe it was worse.
Could have been.
Didn't you ever clean the stove?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that those pictures came from the next door place. That wasn't my stove. I have papers where an inspector came in and says that everything was good in that house. She said I had the cleanest stove she had ever saw. It's documented here.
Oh, let me see that.
And
just a second. I'd like to see that.
Okay, I'm gonna send them with Bert. And a thing where I had the carpet cleaned in the year that I was there, year and 9 months. These are also pictures of what we were breathing and some of the stuff coming out of there that had damaged a lot of the walls and carpets. I lived there for a month without heat and continued to pay my rent because I don't want to be a bad person. You know what I mean? So I paid the rent, lived there while we breathed that. My kids were sick and going back and forth to the hospital breathing that stuff.
Well, you should have moved out sooner.
Well, we tried. I did the best I could, but I understand, and you're right, I should have. From what I could, he was on my property every day drinking. I'm an alcoholic, so it really had offended me when he did that. Before that, he was cutting the locks off.
Do you see me looking at you? Would you please point out to me where it says here, madam, that you had the cleanest stove the inspector had ever seen?
Well, she mentioned it.
Would you point that out to me? I'd like to see it.
I don't know if it's on here.
Well, just take a look. That's what you were giving me.
She didn't. She said it to me then. It wasn't written, but it doesn't say anything's ruined in there.
I asked you to answer my question.
Okay, it doesn't say it.
Okay. You want to show me, sir, a list of things that you claim that you spent money on to put this apartment back in condition to re-rent?
Yes, Your Honor. I have two separate ones here. The initial one is the one that I sent to the plaintiff. The second one you have there is one I just did the other day with the actual expenses. She had a young pup, and it made a mess of the carpet, and I thought it could be cleaned, but I had to replace it after that. So even prorating the carpet over 5 years, for her 2 years, I still come up with a lot more that she owed me than I owe her. The rest was just little incidentals, mini blinds. I'm talking $20 here. You can't find a mini blind for $20. I'm not gouging her in any way.
Look, I just want you to tell me, sir, how much you spent on somebody coming in and doing a general cleaning in the apartment.
I cleaned it myself. That's what it would have cost me to do something like that.
I just wanted to tell him about the blinds. When I had moved in, he told me I put a dog door in for the dog could go have access.
Yeah.
And we had cut them. That's where he's talking about the damage, so the dog would be above it. He said that was okay, don't worry, because once you'd lived there for a year, the blinds paid for themselves. Otherwise, I would have bought new ones and sat them in there.
Oh, I've seen places that look worse. Seen places that look better, but places that look worse as well. I want to get to your stress complaint, Ms. Dorr. I usually don't entertain that. I gather that you were living there for a while and that you complained several times about other neighbors, 2 other neighbors in particular, according to the defendant. One neighbor you said was selling drugs, and you evicted that person. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And then the plaintiff had somebody that she thought would be a good tenant, somebody that was going to do some babysitting for her.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And you rented to that person.
Yes, I did. They were good tenants.
And what happened to that tenant?
They babysat for the county, and that was their major portion of their income. And after they quit watching the plaintiff's child for free, they thought they was being taken advantage of. She responded by calling the Child Protective Services and filed a complaint that said her son had been sexually abused by their son. So therefore, they lost their license, they lost their income, and they had to move.
Is there any reason other than those 2 instances why you decided to evict the plaintiff?
After 2 tenants and initially not knowing who to believe, Diane is very good at she's very convincing.
Not to me.
Okay. Well, I had a hard time at first, so I didn't know who to believe, the other tenant or her. And so I gave her the benefit of the doubt at the first time. But on the second instance, after that, it was obvious who was telling the lies here. And it cost me a couple months' rent there, plus fixing up the other places. And then when I evicted Diane, it cost me a month's rent there, and I had to fix that place up. Pretty soon, you have to look out for your own well-being.
Okay. Tell me about your stress, Miss Dorr.
I'm not even going to bother because obviously you believe him. He had those places rented the day we were out of there.
Good.
All of them were, so.
Oh, well, that's great.
But I have copies of police reports, and I didn't call Children's Services. The school did. My son reported it to the school what had happened. And I don't know if I'd call it sexual abuse. It was the little boy on top of him. And if my son needs to tell the school that, I'm not going to tell him to be quiet.
Okay. Well, Mr. Dykstra, let me tell you this, sir. When a tenant moves out, things are never really perfect. You certainly are entitled to cleanup fees. I don't care who did it, whether you did it or whether someone else performed the service of cleaning up this mess, and there was a mess. And if you had a crew in to clean it up, they would have charged you at least $250 to clean it up, because that's more than 1 day's work for 1 person. It's more like 1 day's work for 3 people. Now, right now, $513 is the amount that I have that's deducting what she owed you for May's rent.
That's correct.
Or she chose not to be out by the 1st of May. If she were out the 1st of May, then you wouldn't have to pay any part of May's rent. And I'm also going to deduct from that $250 for the mess that you left behind, leaving $263. And I believe that you should give that back to her from her security deposit, and that's what I'm ordering. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $263. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 340 on the calendar in the matter of Carver versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Carver, the defendant is your sister.
Yes.
You were incarcerated.
Yes.
For how long?
Probably a year and a half.
And then you were released to a halfway house.
Yes.
From what I gather, you and your sister had been sort of estranged for a while you were in jail, and you discussed with your sister moving to Colorado, her moving to Colorado, and getting an apartment or a house together and sort of building a life together.
Yes.
And she did. She relocated. You were in the halfway house. You found an apartment together, signed a lease together. And then something happened and you were not released from the halfway house.
Correct.
You believe it was something that your sister had told your probation officer, but in any event, your sister, you say, forced you to pay.
Yes, she did.
Your half of the lease.
Yes.
Even though you weren't living there.
Right.
And that's what your lawsuit is about.
Yes, it is.
Explain to me how that's her fault.
When this started out in June of 2000, we discussed the move with her coming to Colorado. And I paid the money for the house. And she came shortly after. I had like 1 weekend there with her, 4 hours each day. And
you were allowed out of the halfway house 4 hours a day?
And that particular weekend, we had an argument, and I told her she was not going to be able to smoke her marijuana because I was on provisions that where I could not be around drugs at all because my problems were drug related in the past. And it seemed to be a big effect. She said no, she wasn't going to quit it. She'll smoke out in the yard. Well, it wasn't soon after that that my case manager called me into his office and told me that he was going to cancel the whole thing and that I would not be able to get out of the halfway house for a time. He didn't tell me how much time, but I had to stay at the halfway house and I could not get out. So I was crying and very upset, and I said, well, okay, then I can't get out. There's nothing I can do. Can you get a roommate? And she said, yeah, sure, I'll get a roommate. And then shortly after that, my case manager called me in again and told me that I had to pay half of the rent. And I called her back and asked her, why? Why is this? I thought she was going to get a roommate. She told me she would, and she wouldn't even talk. She was just really nasty to me on the phone. And I do have proof here that I did pay the rent, and I also have proof that I was not liable for the lease because the lease wasn't even an issue whenever I rented the house. There was no lease on the house, but she insisted to the landlord to make up a lease because she needed it for housing authorities to help her pay her rent.
How much did you pay altogether?
I paid like $2,400 altogether. I paid the initial $1,600 and another $16, so $32.
$1,600 was what? Was
the original? That was the first payment on the house, which was first in security. I've got that receipt here. Then I've got 4 more receipts for 4 more months of half of the $800 month rent, which is $400 each month.
All right, Miss Wilson. I want you to tell me only what happened as a result of your sister telling you she could no longer come to live with you because she wasn't going to be released. So that was beyond her control.
Well, I've got emails that shows our correspondence, and she told me that I told her she needed to find me a roommate if she couldn't live with me, and I gave her the...
She doesn't have to find you a roommate. Why couldn't you find your own roommate? Why wouldn't you want to find your own roommate?
Well, because I had health problems, and it was very complicated. Also, we mentioned the... and I did smoke pot at the time. I do no longer do that. That was stupid, and I don't want to be a bad influence on my daughter.
So, who else lives in the house?
Just me and my daughter. My son was there at the time.
And how old is your son?
My son is now 17.
So that there were 3 of you and 1 of your sister.
Right.
Why should she pay half the rent if she's only 1 person?
Because she agreed to. When I came out, we had a limited amount that we were living on, $512 a month. And I told her this is what I could afford to pay every month. She could have found a cheaper place. I couldn't even get housing authority to okay this house because it was so bad. The floors were caving through. There was cracks in the wall. I fell through the steps and hurt myself. I couldn't get housing to okay it. So I got out as soon as I could, which was in December. She paid for 4 months, which is $400 each month, which is $1,600.
But what about the $1,600 security?
I paid. I've got the receipts. I paid my half.
And how much was your half?
My half, there was $800 security. I paid $400. And $400 for the first. So it was the first and last. And I paid the deposit myself. She didn't pay any of the deposit.
I've got a receipt that I paid the first and last right here
right.
from the landlord.
And I've got a receipt that shows I paid her back for my half.
Okay. I have this and this from the landlord.
And I've got the lease in her name that she signed before I got here.
What efforts did you make to find a roommate?
To be honest, I didn't, because the house was so run down. And
But you did not?
I didn't.
Okay, can I see the receipt that you gave her for the $800?
It's all stapled in a pile, and I got the emails too, and I highlighted the parts that I was talking about. And they turned her down to get out because they told me she was a flight risk, because I called them myself.
That's not true.
She wasn't released.
That's correct.
So there was an impossibility of performance of her for the contract.
The whole deal with her was to get a place that housing would okay so that I could get their help, and they would not help me with this house. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made her liable if I could have gotten
Do you have
help.
anything from housing that says that the house was inappropriate?
No, because they gave me, it says that the windows have to be secure, that you have to have fire alarms, that the floors have to be...
because the landlord suggests that you lost your security deposit because the house was left a wreck.
Yes.
No, I cleaned the house.
No, the landlord suggests that you lost your security deposit, and I assume you didn't sue the landlord for your security deposit back.
Yeah, I'd only paid $200, so no, I didn't.
You only paid $200?
Yes.
I paid $800.
Well, she paid $800.
No, we paid first and last.
No.
That wasn't a security. I mean, he might have worded it that way, but when I gave him notice, he used that last $800 for my last month's rent.
I understand that. He may have used it, but that was her money.
Well, yeah, it was half her money.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Carver says her sister Julia Wilson owes for the return of rent. Julia is countersuing, claiming Terry used her identity when she was arrested for possession of crack.
All right, let's get to your counterclaim, Ms. Wilson, which I assume you want to pursue.
Yes, ma'am.
Your lawsuit suggests that your sister, in 1997, when she was arrested, used your name and identification. Tell me what happened.
She was arrested in 1998. I didn't find out about it until a year ago when I registered to vote. They said that I was a felon, that I couldn't vote. And she's got, that's me, Julia Pendleton, that's my maiden name, and this is my sister. And she was arrested for crack and possession of paraphernalia. And she had a broken jaw, someone hit her with a 2x4 or something. And so due to this, I couldn't vote at first. I had to carry around this from the Tampa Police Department saying that there's no warrant out for me, and I've never been arrested, and I've never been fingerprinted, and it was humiliating and degrading, and it's still, Julia Pendleton will always be her alias.
You have
always.
been arrested.
Never.
Well,
Yes,
she's
you
been
have.
arrested before. Ms. Carver, did you, in fact, use your sister's identity?
Yes, I did. In 1997, I did. And I spoke with her about it, and I confessed to her about it. And
When?
When I found out
in
about it.
1998.
A year
And-
later?
Yes, and we did discuss this, and I told her, and I have felt very bad about this whole thing. I know it was wrong, and yes, I was on drugs, and I did a lot of crazy things. I have a nasty past. But she said that she understood why I did it. She said that she loved me, and she forgave me. And
Right.
now all of a sudden, it's all back up. It's like, you know, my past is being thrown in my face. This is 3 years I've worked hard to change my life. And it's like it's constantly, every time she gets mad at me, she throws this up and shows me that nasty picture.
You sued
I'm
me.
sorry, but I just can't deal with it. And, you know, I want to get this over with because I have a nasty past, and I'm sorry.
Well,
But she forgave me, I
there's
thought.
3 warrants out for her from Florida right now. And there's a warrant out for her in Tampa. So that's 4 warrants from Florida, active warrants on for her
If
arrest.
they were active, I wouldn't be here right
I
now.
can give you the VOP numbers right here.
Like to see 'em?
And she said she'd take care of it. I've given her a year and a half to take care of it, and she hasn't made one phone call to get it taken care of.
What are the warrants for?
Violation of probation for grand theft and also possession of crack and bad check ring.
You know about these warrants?
Yes, yes, I do. And the grand theft was taken care of years ago. That one was from like 1992.
And the others?
The others were taken care of. The violation of probation was still active as far as I knew, but then my parole officer now said that there was nothing on the NCIC against me right now. Otherwise, they would not have allowed me to come here today.
No, they just wouldn't have extradited you because you're not worth it.
Ms. Carver, you don't mind if Officer Byrd gets in touch with your probation officer do
Not
you,
at
to
all.
make sure that these warrants are still not outstanding? So I'm going to ask you to wait when court is over.
Yes, ma'am.
You give the probation officer, I'm sure he has the number, a call and ask if any of these warrants are still extant.
Sure thing, Judge.
Ms. Carver, my initial order was going to be in your favor for $1,200 for the rent that you paid. But the fact that you were arrested and used her identification without her permission, even though she forgave you,
Right,
she may have forgiven you until you filed a lawsuit against her.
right.
And now she said, well, now that you filed a lawsuit against me, I want to be compensated for the embarrassment, the humiliation that went along with this identity theft, which is
Right.
really what it was.
Yes, ma'am.
You had forgiven your sister.
Yes.
Okay. Until this lawsuit.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're even. Who are you living with?
Myself.
Good luck. Check with Byrd. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it's fair because I know what I did to her was wrong.
I don't hold it against her.
I've worked really hard for 3 years to straighten out my life, and I just wish it was not there to haunt me.
I hope she gets her life on track and does good.
We called your probation officer and everything is fine. Okay, so
Thank
you're free
you.
to go.
Thank
God
you
bless
very much.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Warren versus Quintel. Step forward, please.
26-year-old customer service rep Lakeisha Warren is suing her former friend, 28-year-old maintenance worker Andrew Quintel, and his mother Joan Quintel. Lakeisha says Andrew owes for unpaid loans and for kicking her car. Andrew has a countersuit for harassment.
Miss Warren, Mr. Quintel was your boyfriend for a while. According to your complaint, you made a series of loans to him.
Well, no, we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, but I did make a series of loans to him.
He was a friend of yours?
Yes.
And in addition, at one point you say that out of anger and rage when you refused to loan him your car, he kicked it, causing some damage.
That's correct.
Why don't you have a seat?
Thank you.
All right, when was the first loan that you made to him?
12/27 of 99.
And how long had you known him before December of 1999?
About 4 years.
And tell me about how he approached you with regard to this money.
Well, his job is like temporary, seasonal, so he didn't have any money. And since I worked full time, then he asked me, could he get a loan?
You have a canceled check?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please?
I actually have 3 of them and 1 more.
So you have 4 checks?
That's correct.
Okay. The first check that you have is $19.99 for $200, and you made this check payable to his mother.
Yes.
Why?
Because he didn't have a banking account to cash the check.
Then I see checks in the year 2000. So after he didn't pay you back the December loan, you gave him more money in February of 2000.
Yes.
Then there's another check here in April of 2001 for $1,500.
Yes.
Well, tell me about that one. That's made out to cash.
I went to the bank and cashed the check in the pretense that he would pay me back on his next work day, which was the 10th.
In April of 2001, did you take a $1,500 cash loan from the plaintiff?
No, ma'am.
You know anything about $1,500?
No, ma'am. That's new to me.
Well, let's get back to the $280. $280 that's owed for a couple of years now. She gave you this money. This is clear. These checks were written out to your mother. Were these loans for you?
Well, ma'am, me and Miss Warren, we were friends for a while, so I mean...
Could you answer my question?
Huh. Yeah, that wasn't a loan.
What was it?
I can't exactly remember. It's been more than a couple of times that she's given me money or I've given her money. It's been over 6-7 year friendship, so I mean...
Okay, let me hear about the car.
It was kicked on the right side and the passenger side. He tried to let the air out of the tires, too, because his friend had dropped him off.
Tell me about that incident in February of 2000.
I was at work. I was working 6:30 to 2:30. He came because he wanted to use the car to, I guess, to run some errands. I told him no. He tried to let the air out of the car. He kicked the car so hard the rubber fell off.
Now, after this incident, according to your paperwork, you gave him $1,500 in cash.
That's correct.
Why would you do that?
Stupid.
You have a counterclaim for harassment.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to tell me what that's about.
Basically, I tried to end our friendship.
Why is that?
Oh, because I got a new girlfriend.
What do you mean a new girlfriend? I thought the plaintiff wasn't your girlfriend.
She wasn't
Why
my
not?
girlfriend.
So?
But
So you got a
she was
girlfriend?
a friend of mine. Yeah, I got a girlfriend.
And?
So the friendship started to deteriorate, meaning less and less time speaking and talking and being friends, and then nothing at all. And when this came about, there was numerous, phone calls and stuff to my mother's house when I was staying there at times, of hanging up in all hours of the night and during the day.
Well, why didn't he just leave me alone then? How can you stalk someone if they... Okay.
If you tried to stop it, why did you still continue to take money from her?
We were still friends, I
What's
would
his
try to
definition?
stop it.
I don't want...
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, we were friends, and it would stop for a while, and then it would go on again for a while.
He's confused.
I'm confused.
Well, basically,
Quite frankly,
ma'am,
I'm
basically what
Basically,
it is
we
were
slept together, and that was it. That's it.
Shh, quiet.
Well, by her saying that, then you know why a lot of this stuff was going on then when I decided not to deal with her.
If you interrupt again, aside from the fact that you haven't proven your case, I'm going to throw you out. Do you understand?
Okay, go ahead.
Good. I have some advice for you and for your mother. Change your phone number and unlist it. And if she's being a nut, then you might just have to do that.
I would like to say I'm not calling those people.
No, I think that I should listen to me, Miss Warren. I believe that you're calling.
No, because someone's calling my house at all hours of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning,
I
hanging
think
up.
that probably, maybe his girlfriend is doing that. Are you telling me that you did not call more than 2 or 3 times a day, ever?
No.
Do you have any proof, Mr. Quintel or Mrs. Quintel, that the plaintiff called your home or place of business in the last 6 months? Because she says she has not. You have proof?
I have got...
No, she just has
I
times and
have
dates that
times,
she...
the times and dates that she has called.
No, I'm something from the phone company.
They don't have it.
So you don't have any proof?
No, it's my...
Okay. So far, Mr. Quintel, based upon the evidence that I've heard, you owe the plaintiff $30. That's all she can prove. The other checks have no indication as
was
to
on
what...
that check, ma'am?
I'm speaking.
What about his harassment?
I've dealt with his harassment. I think, Miss Warren, that you have to get over it.
I am over it.
Good. Very good. Your case is dismissed with the exception of $30, which you have, in fact, proven. And with regard to your harassment, you have no proof of harassment.
Well, that's because they don't let incoming call.
What do you want me to do about that, sir? Proof is what you need in court. And I suggest that if a relationship, a friendship, an intimacy is over, you move on with it, both of you. Yeah. And the problem is, if you did, in fact, take this money from her, and I'm not sure whether you did or whether you didn't, but that is, of course, a possibility, she would be doubly angry if you dumped her for somebody else. We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So maybe if you did, in fact, take money from her that you did not return, and if you want this harassment to stop, maybe you should give her back the money. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you don't, she just may continue to make your life miserable. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Goodbye and good luck.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 358 on the calendar in the matter of Stenger versus Stenger. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mrs. Stenger, the defendant is your former daughter-in-law.
Correct.
Who is this?
My husband.
And who are you?
I'm Tasha.
How old are you, Tasha?
18.
You're the granddaughter.
Yes.
And you?
Jennifer.
Who are you?
I'm the partner of Deborah, 6 years.
Deborah?
Yes.
Okay. This is your lawsuit. It is your claim that your former daughter-in-law was having some trouble with Tasha. She called you and asked you if you would let her come and live with you. Your granddaughter did come to live with you. You claimed that your daughter-in-law promised to send you support for the child. She did not, and then your granddaughter took off from your house and went back to her mother's house.
That's basically correct, yes.
When did she come to live with you?
January 12th.
And when did she leave your house?
I noticed her missing the morning of July 16th.
Did things go all right between you when she was there?
Basically, yes, we had a couple normal teenage things, but other than that, Tasha was a wonderful child.
What was your arrangement with her mother with regard to support for Tasha when she was living with you?
When we got home on the 12th, Debbie was there with Tasha. She explained to us that she was having some problems with her at home and then asked us to take her in, and if we didn't do so, she was going to turn her over to foster care. So we took her in. We made arrangements that day that, you know, she would take care of her financially.
Well, no, tell me exactly what was said.
She never actually named, per se, a dollar figure, but she just led me to believe that she would meet her financial needs, and I just took that.
But you never discussed an amount?
No.
How much did she send you from January to July?
In the beginning, she brought over money orders, totaled $270. What I was getting was actually the child's father's support money. What happened was it ended up getting frozen, and then from
how much money was she receiving from your son?
$44 a week was payroll deducted.
Was there ever a conversation that she would turn over his child support payments to you?
Yes.
Did you ever discuss any money in addition to that she was going to pay you?
No. When we needed help, when I would call her, like how she needed some medical treatment, I would call and leave messages on her answer machine that I needed up and beyond what the insurance was going to cover. She never would return any phone calls.
Where was your son at this time?
He was there.
There where?
About 5 miles away, and he came over 2 and 3 times a week and spent quite a deal of time with Tasha.
Why wouldn't you call your son and tell him that she had some medical bills?
I called both, and he did end up giving me money.
Okay.
Total of, in the 7 months Tasha lived there, he gave me out-of-pocket money, $700.
He gave you directly?
Yes.
$700. And she gave you $270?
Yes. And
did she give you any more than $270?
Never.
Now, you say the child support at some point became frozen. When did that child support become frozen?
It started on February the 1st. I just simply asked the question to my son, do you have to pay child support money to a child that no longer resides at that address? And he, at that point, didn't even know the answer, so he called his caseworker and asked. And I guess that's what started it rolling. And then a notarized letter from Deborah on 2/20 states that the child was residing with me, and they just, after having heard from both parents, just froze the money.
And so the money kept coming in?
Kept coming in, but was not going, and to this day has never been released. There was, on October the 17th, there was a court hearing. And to my knowledge, what money was supposed to have been frozen while Tasha was in my care was supposed to be, according to this paperwork, turned over to me. But as of today, I've not received one dime.
Well, but you will be receiving.
According to the child
let me
support...
see the paper that you have.
To that. According to what they have told us, that Tasha was actually entitled to.
The impounded funds shall be released to Jean Stenger. That's you.
That's right.
So you will be getting that money.
At least the $600, yes.
Okay. Now, is there any discrepancy in what your mother-in-law has indicated to the story that you would tell me?
Yes, absolutely, Judge.
Let me hear.
I did correspond with Jean on taking some family intervention with my daughter. When Jean volunteered to take Tasha, there was no monies per se as an amount to keep her. I did tell Jean, providing that I did receive her father's child support, that I would indeed turn that over to her. Jean is correct on stating that the child support was impounded on February 2nd. Due to the child support being impounded, it froze my other daughter's child support also. I have another daughter. So while both child supports was impounded, I had to write a letter, as Ms. Stinger said, to get the child support released.
For your other daughter?
For my other daughter. Tasha's child support was indeed impounded.
Okay.
And I could not turn over the monies to Ms. Stinger.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at Sears and I'm at shipping.
How much money do you get for your other child for child support?
I receive $44.12 per week per child.
And how much do you earn?
I bring home about $700 every 2 weeks. But in January, I fell on my back. I was off work for 14 weeks, and I received 50% of my pay. I was bringing home $250 every 2 weeks.
Okay. Mrs. Stanger, your lawsuit seeks $3,000 from the child care expenses.
Right.
There has to be an agreement, which there clearly was not, other than the fact that she would turn over the child support payments to you.
Well, she did lead me to believe that she was going to care for the child. She didn't move her into my home with the understanding that I was going to meet all financial debt.
Right, well, you wouldn't have. She was getting $44 a week from your son.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, the $44 a week that she was getting from your son doesn't cover child care expenses, even when the child is in her care. So she have to use her income as well. She says that she was receiving half disability for a substantial part of that time.
That is correct, Your Honor, but that's not the whole story. According to all of these, this is the police reports that took place within their home. She was couldn't go back to work, according to the police reports, because she had to go to drug rehab. That is a lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jean Stenger says ex-daughter-in-law Deborah Stenger owes for child support costs when her granddaughter lived with her. Deborah says she gave Jean all of her child support money.
Mrs. Stenger, whether the injury at work was drug-related or not, if she could not work for that period of time, then there was no additional money coming in.
Right.
So let me tell you what would have happened, Mrs. Stenger. She could have gone back into court and pursued additional support for Tasha from your son. Stop shaking your head, because it's a possibility. I know. I was in family court for 25 years, sir.
But he didn't have a job, so he was hurt.
So you as parents pitched in and took care of your granddaughter.
Well, the only thing I incurred so much expense. Number one, I had to take her back and forth to school, round trip, 4 times a day, 80 miles a day. She had to have $3 a day for lunch money.
I understand that it was difficult, but that's what grandparents do.
Well, you don't mind
And
it,
you
but when
wouldn't-
you're abused.
And you wouldn't be here today, Mrs. Stenger, were your son still married to the defendant.
No.
Of course not. And you're not suing both of them. You're choosing just to sue your former daughter-in-law.
Well, I felt because she had full custody of her, and we had virtually an agreement that that's where it should go.
No, virtually an agreement is not an agreement, Mrs. Stanger.
Because I didn't have her put it in writing?
No, you said it was my understanding that. And I believe what she said to you was, I will turn over the child support payments to you. So in addition to giving you the child support payments, she also gave you a little bit of extra money, $270. But that is not an agreement. It's not an agreement that is binding in a court. So you have a son who's not working, because why?
He has a heart condition and is still under doctor's care as of today.
So?
Well, what we're saying is he was working 3 jobs and they made him quit, okay?
Made him quit all 3 jobs?
All but one. He could remain to do it because he could do it out of his own home.
So you have a son who can hardly take care of himself, and you have an ex-daughter-in-law who's got 2 children, who was really paying the lion's share of support for both children for a long time, because on $44 a week, you don't take care of a child.
That was only after, what do you want to call it? The child support was had a reduction done in it. He was actually paying $134. I have a court printout where he paid her $100,000 over the time period from the day of the divorce.
Since when?
Was actually, when were you divorced, Debbie? 87?
So you're telling me from
1987
1987 he paid her $100,000?
Yes.
So
Well, I'm just stating that you
So?
paid more than $44 in
What
that
I'm
time
telling
frame.
you is, so?
Oh, I understand that.
Doesn't come out to a lot of money. Sounds like a lot of money. Paid her $100,000. If you sell me, paid her $100,000 in the last 2 years, in the last 3 years for the support of 2 children, I would say. Okay, you know, man's doing his job. But since 1987,
Yes, I know.
if he's paid her $100,000, that doesn't cut it for me.
How many years was it?
14 years.
What about
14, I'll figure it out what it is for you. All right, my trusty calculator. 100,000 divided by 14 divided by 12 equals $595 a month. Divided by 4.3 is $138 a week. Divided by 2.
No, 3.
3 at that time?
You mean she had 3 children?
Yes, in the beginning.
Well, glad you told me that. That's even less. So forget it. You got $1,500. But I have a sense that one of the reasons that you're here is because you're angry because your granddaughter left your house without so much as a goodbye and a thank you or goodbye, I'm going back to my mother. Step up. Did you have a fight with your grandmother?
I had a few little fights.
Well, the last one. You left sometime in July. Why?
I got tired of hearing her and everybody put my mom down as she was a bad person.
And they did this to you, in front of you?
Well, they did it in their bedroom or in the living room or when I was in the room, like I was invisible, you know. It didn't matter where I was.
That's a big mistake. That's a terrible mistake. You're absolutely right.
That is not
That's
true.
not
Conversations were not held in front of the child.
That's not true.
Well, listen, may not be held in front of the child, but if they're held in a room where she can overhear them.
That didn't happen.
Well, that's what she says. What do you think happened? Why did she leave?
Number one, we got a phone call in regard back to the child support. On July 5th, they called. Debbie had kind of rapport with them, and she had been in their office on that day, and when she left, they had informed her on that day if she would get letters from both the children, they would release the funds. July 7th, Debbie started showing up at my home. Tasha was with us for 7 months. During that time frame, Debbie never one time called me or my husband and asked how the child was doing, if she was in need of anything, nothing. Like I said before, when I needed the help with the medical bills, Tasha had came to us. She had a root canal that needed to be done, an abscess on her tooth. Debbie did carry insurance, but when it came time for the insurance check to come around, the insurance company mailed it to Debbie. Debbie took the funds and cashed the check and never refunded, never paid the dentist, never, and
That's a lie.
I had the bill from the dentist.
That's not a lie. Why did that happen?
When the check came to me?
Yes. What did you do when the check came to you?
I cashed it and I bought Tasha socks, underwear, and shoes.
Wrong. Wrong.
Absolutely.
That was wrong.
Yes, it was.
So, how much was the check?
$89.10.
You owe her that. You want to buy your daughter underwear, you buy your daughter underwear.
I didn't pay that. I didn't have a root canal done. I didn't have anything done. I still
The
have
child to this day hasn't had the root canal. The infection in her tooth was so bad, they placed her on antibiotic, and I took her, as they requested, to a medical doctor. And
This is all-
well, what I'm saying to you, it was in her blood system. They said that it wasn't life-threatening yet, but it could get there. And if I hadn't got her help,
That's a dangerous situation,
it
I'm
is.
telling you, that
and
you
it was
want
one
to take
that I
care
got
of that.
placed in the middle of.
What?
The tooth has been pulled.
The tooth has been pulled?
Thank heaven.
Well, that's cheaper than root canal, just to pull out the tooth. Where was the tooth?
my
Wisdom's going to
back
take her place.
molar.
Didn't the dentist tell you that it would be better to do a crown and to do root canal work on a young child's mouth rather than pulling a tooth so that the whole mouth shifts? See, it pays to have a father who's a dentist. Didn't he
I
tell you
don't-
that?
Yes, ma'am, but I didn't have the $562.
Get it! Get 2 jobs. Get 5 jobs. Okay, so far I have that you owe her $89.10.
The only out-of-pocket expense as far as for debt, she needed a new book for school for one of her classes, $27.10.
So you bought your granddaughter a book. I'm not so concerned about buying your granddaughter a book. Listen, if the reason that you left your grandmother's house is because you heard her and your grandfather saying things that were unkind about your mother, that was a tremendous mistake on their part, not on your part. But if you wanted to be a little more grown up, you would have said, I want to go home to my mother.
That's
I
what she
think
needed to
asked
do.
one time, and they said that I couldn't leave
That's not true. She never.
They
we
said
had
that
no
you couldn't leave.
conversation.
Why?
because I lived there, and my grandfather would not let me leave.
You mean you felt like a prisoner? Is that what
Yeah.
you felt like?
I
It didn't happen.
no.
I think this
Did you
letter
go-
here that she wrote
Did you go out with
herself
your friends?
explains
No.
why she left.
You never went out? In the 7 months you lived there, you never went out with friends?
Once a weekend, if that.
Fine, so you went out with your friends. Doesn't sound to me like you were a prisoner.
She went anywhere and everywhere she wanted. I seen to it she did.
Okay.
And I think this letter that she actually wrote here actually explains why she left. She thought she was going to get that money, just like I stated, from the child support, and they was going to spend it on those things.
Okay, good. She starts out with, sorry the letter's so sloppy, but dear Granny and Grandpal, I'm sorry. It's been great and all, but it was time to go home a long time ago. You don't get me or understand me. Well, that's probably true because grandparents don't get foolish teenagers. Maybe someday you will. And I know my mom is not perfect, but she is my mama and she needs my love. And I need hers. That's an honest feeling. I hope that you both know that I love you very much and I'll be back tomorrow for my things. It's not about how much you did or are doing or anything like that. It's just that nothing has changed in my heart. Your granddaughter says to you she knows she needs her mama right now.
And she should.
And that I will always have you. And she tells you what I'm getting a new job and a cell phone. She's made plans for school.
And all those plans have fallen through.
And she ends the letter by saying, I'm not dumb and you know that I will be thinking of you twice on everything. And then she says, Angel's love is always with you all. This is not a mean letter. She's just saying,
no, it's not.
It's a teenage letter. And she's saying, I love you, but I love my mama, and I have to be with my mama. And you don't really get my mama. You don't like my mama. I may not like her style, but she's my mama, and I need to be with her right now. And perhaps it could have been handled differently, Mrs. Stanger, but that's not the way it was handled.
No.
So.
No, I think that's the whole thing in a nutshell.
I got you. I understand.
Since that time, we've not heard from her at all.
Mrs. Stanger, children need the widest possible community of love and affection that they can possibly get, even when they're 18 years old. And clearly, your daughter has had a lot of ups and downs. Fair statement? Clearly, when a mother gives up physical custody of a child to someone other than a parent, it's saying that there have been problems that I can't cope with. And the fact that her grandparents said, fine, we'll try, is a testament to them. Not something that should make you angry with them if they did some foolish things while she was there by letting her little pictures overhear conversations. That was the wrong thing to do. But basically, they had reasonable hearts because they said, you know, she's our granddaughter and we love her. Let her come and disrupt our otherwise calm household. When a teenager comes into your house, your whole house turns upside down. It never is the same. So your grandparents loved you enough to say, come live with us. And your grandmother drove you back and forth to school. It was a big drive every day.
Yeah, it was.
Could she have said to you, if you're going to live here, you have to go to school locally?
Yes.
Of course she could have. She could have said, listen, I'm not driving an hour each way to get you to and from school. I want you to live with us, but you'll have to finish high school close by our house. But she wouldn't do that because you got your friends. You wanted to finish high school where you are, so she extended herself. It's time to put a period and not be so angry, okay? Will you try?
I'm not angry.
Are you angry at her?
Oh, no. No, not angry at all.
Good. I'm glad. Your lawsuit's dismissed. That's all.
Parties
Oh,
are-
except for $89.10. That you get.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 336 on the calendar, the matter of Biggert versus Reed. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Biggert, the defendant is your former wife, and it is
Yes.
your claim that since you've been divorced, separated, and under a child support order, you have overpaid some $3,500 in child support.
Yes.
You say that it was not an overpayment, the money was used for the children, and there was some sort of an agreement for him to pay you additional money. You have a counterclaim for $700 because you say he was ordered to pay $700 in attorney's fees for some sort of a custody proceeding the two of you were involved with, and he did not pay that amount. When were you divorced?
1988.
And you have two children?
Yes.
How old are they?
Howard is 18 and Sarah is 16.
And what was the child support order?
It was approximately $1,200 per month.
And during what period of time did you overpay?
I'm assuming it was over the whole period because when I received the paperwork from the court, it just said we did an investigation from the time you started paying child support until the end of August.
So over a 13-year period?
Yes.
And you can't definitively say over what period of time you made these overpayments?
No.
Should have kept better records. Was the overpayment agreed to be reimbursed by the defendant at any time in court?
I was not aware there was an overpayment until I received the paperwork from the court saying they had done an investigation into the child
Let me
support.
see the piece of paper you received. At the time you received this order, it indicates that $3,573.85 was overpaid over the course of 13 years.
Yes.
I'll hear you.
All the money that I got was spent on the kids.
Were you aware of the fact, Mrs. Reed, that you were being overpaid?
Not at the time, no, because the checks always fluctuated.
When did you become aware that you were receiving too much money?
About a month and a half ago when I got it through the mail.
And when did you become aware of the fact, sir, that you had overpaid child support?
When I received that notice in the mail from the
When
court.
did you remarry, Mrs. Reed?
May of this year.
Prior to that, both children lived with you?
Yes.
And did your former husband see the children regularly?
No.
Did you see the children?
At times, but not.
You have a reasonable relationship with your children?
Yes.
Do either of your children live with you now?
I have custody of my daughter,
And how old is she?
16.
Which she does not live with him.
Who does she live with?
My second ex-wife.
Do you pay child support to your second ex-wife?
I reimburse her for any expenses that she incurs for my daughter, or I pay the expenses directly.
Under what circumstances did your daughter leave your home?
I think it was because I finally got help raising the kids, and I think it was too structured and she didn't like it.
Do you work?
Oh, yes. I have a beauty salon.
Are you under a current child support order for your 16-year-old daughter?
No.
How come?
Well, probably when she went to live with her dad, it was all of a sudden, and I was told she was moving in with her father. 3 weeks later, I find she's living with her stepmother. So I was not very happy about that. And no one's ever requested child support from me. But as my income compared to his income, I don't think there would be much anyways.
I'm not so sure.
Well,
how many children do you have?
5.
How many children do you have?
2.
I guarantee you, if somebody requested child support, you would pay it.
Oh, definitely.
What kind of income did you have at the time that the children were living with you?
It was about $11,000 a year. So it was like all I could do to keep us in the house that we bought together when we were married, but I wanted to keep the kids where they were raised.
I want to do a calculation for you, Mr. Biggert. Maybe it will make you feel better. Difference of $3,500 over the 13-year period. Do you know what that comes out to, Mr. Biggert? $22 a month.
Yes.
Or $5 a week. So nobody got rich on that difference. And quite frankly, I don't feel justified in saying to the defendant, who really didn't know that she had received an overpayment, now you have to come up with $3,500, unless you can tell me that you don't think that she spent that $5 a week, at least in part, on the children.
Well, I think, Your Honor, that she's probably spent more than that, and I spent more than that over that 13-year period myself.
Right. That's a good thing. Okay. You want to tell me about this counterclaim that you have?
Yes, I've got information that he was to pay for our son being custody changed last year. It was ordered that he pay me the amount of $900.
$900 for what?
The attorney fees for the custody.
What happened with that custody proceeding?
Well, actually, my son come back to live with us, with LG and I, and the $900 attorney fees, it says here, was to be paid to me to pay my lawyer. And so far, Herb's paid $200 of it, and said he would pay me, or if I paid the other $700, he would deduct it from the $3,500 that I owed, and he would only be suing me for the $2,800.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't feel that was correct.
What did you
when
feel
the
was
court
correct?
ordered, because I have a court order here stating that he's to pay it.
You have a court order that he was to pay $900 for your attorney, and he's got a court order that says that he's supposed to pay so much for child support. He overpaid you in child support. You want me to give more recognition to your order than to his?
No.
So why should he pay you a penny?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Herbert Biggert says ex-wife Kim Reed owes for the return of child support. Herbert claims he overpaid and Kim kept the money.
Go ahead.
This was supposed to be paid back in January, and it was not paid.
I understand. Well, that's your counterclaim. He's what?
Your Honor, if I might, you said yourself we were talking about $5 a week over 13 years.
Right. But it accumulates to $3,500.
Exactly.
Right.
This court order was basically after the fact as far as paying the attorney fees from a change of custody.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the countersuit.
When was the order?
January 9th, 2001.
Okay. No, he was still paying child support in January of 2001, sir.
Yes.
He was still overpaying child support in January of 2001.
But we didn't know until now.
I understand that. But for you to suggest that I'm going, or anyone would order him to pay you $700 or $900 for your attorney's fees when you have collected $3,500 in excess of the child support award, even over 13 years, is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. Especially, Ms. Reed, since, and I don't know all of the facts, but you have a 16-year-old for whom you are paying zero support.
Because I was never ordered yet.
If a man, Ms. Reed, if a man said that to me in court, I don't have to pay child support because I was never ordered to pay it, I would wipe up the floor with them. You don't have to be ordered to pay support for a minor child. That's your obligation. That's your obligation as a parent.
But I do not have the funds that he has.
Doesn't make any difference.
But if my daughter needs something, I do go get her and take her.
No. You don't have to have the same funds that he has. Child support obligations are supposed to be fair. And you have perhaps less funds than he does, and he has more obligations than you do. You have yourself and your husband, and he's got himself, and he has at least 4 children that he's supporting. One is emancipated, but he has 4 children for whom he pays support, including your daughter, who is no longer living with you. So you should be paying something to his ex-wife every month.
To his ex-wife, I would.
Well, then you should be, and you don't have to wait for a court order to do that.
Well, see, I never understood how all this went. When I had both my children, he paid me. When he had Howard, or one of my children, and I had the other, it just got cut in half, and I didn't have to pay for Howard. So I didn't understand that I really should have to pay for her. And knowing that, I have no problem. I just didn't know.
Well, just a minute. I mean, I just want you to think about this. Howard went to live with his father, so he paid you half of what he had been paying.
Right.
Why should he pay you anything?
I don't
Why should he pay you anything? Now, you have 1 child, he has 1 child, and you each support the 1 child that you have in your custody. You think it's sort of fair that his child support order was cut in half. To me, you have far fewer obligations. You have a working mate, and if 1 child is living with you and 1 child is living with him, then what you do is you each take care of the child that's living with you. We shouldn't have to pay you a penny. That's fair. I try to be a fair person. In any event, Mr. Biggard, while I am minorly sympathetic with your position, the truth of the matter is, if you never got this piece of paper from child support enforcement, you would not have known that you had overpaid over the course of 13 years an additional $5 a week. Correct?
Yes.
You would have been able to sleep easier.
Yes.
Right? Not a big deal. On the other hand, because the money went for your kids. There's no question that if she had an extra $5 a week, she didn't go out and buy herself a sable coat. That be a fair statement?
Yes.
All right. On the other hand, it is the height of chutzpah. You know chutzpah?
I know chutzpah.
To suggest that I'm going to give you any part of your counterclaim after you have been enriched over the course of 13 years, the amount of $3,500. So your counterclaim is dismissed, your lawsuit is dismissed. Go, be nice parents to your children, don't fight anymore, and try to be happy.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. When the court determined that I had overpaid, and I thought...
আমাদের স্কোর শেষ
না না যারা স্কোয়াডে আছে লড়কি তাদের কথা বলছি
হ্যাঁ মনে হচ্ছে আপনারা আপনি আরো ভাবতেছেন আমরা খেলতেছি
হ্যাঁ
মুগল ভাই
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
স্কোয়াড কি খালি আছে টিম কোডটা
খালি আছে মনে হয় থামো দেখি আছে মনে হয়
নাই
আচ্ছা খেলা সমস্যা নেই স্ক্রিন শেয়ারে
আসো অসুবিধা নেই আসো
টিম কোড
ডিসলাইক নামে একজন ছিল কি জানো ডিএস কিলার ওর পরিবর্তে আসার সমস্যা নেই 1116986
ওকে গোরে 4 পিসি প্লেয়ার
এরাও একটা এ ভাই তুমি কি আসলে রিয়েল প্লেয়ার
বলতে
তুমি কি আসলে কি সুবিধাজনক প্লেয়ার নাকি ওই দেখেন বিআর আর হেডশট দেখেন বিআর 69% আর টিএস 73%
ভাই हम हैकर है भाई
জাদুকর নাকি
দায়াতে দেখি তো ওয়েপন কি খেলা সুবিধা না
ও খালি জাদুকর না ইন্টারন্যাশনাল জাদুকর নাকি
ভাই।
'ইন্টারন্যাশনাল' ন্যাশনাল ভাবছিস ইন্টারন্যাশনাল
ইয়া এটা দাও এই যে কিলার ইলা নাম জানি কি ওটার
ক্র্যাশ
সানি ভাই নামটা বলেন তো আমার গেমের নামটা
কার
ভি
নাম
ভি ব্যাচ এক্সডিআই
এক কথায় বিব্যাস আর কিছু না
তারপরে কিন্তু অনেক অনেক কিছু আছে
এরা একদম লোকেশনে যা প্রপ করে দেওয়া লাগবে বুঝছেন এটা মনে প্যারা
কই যায় না কেন আরে আনফলো দিছে
এই আনফলোটা দিলেন কেন ভাই
ভাই ওইভাবে নামলে তো মরমু দেয়
নুরু
কিরে কই গেলা তোমরা
এই তো
ভাই আনফলো দিলেন কেন
ওটাই তো
না আমরা এই জায়গায় নামবা
নুরু
আমরা ভাবছি এই জায়গায় নামবা আমরা কি
আরে ছি
জানতাম
সানি ভাই গান পাই নাই
রং ও যে গান পাইছে ওর লগে শর্ট নিয়ে খাওয়া যাবো না
ওটাই ম্যাক্স 7 আছে কিন্তু
বুঝছি
আরে ভাই কি মারে আরে একটু মুভমেন্ট করেন ভাই নালে মেরে দেবে
ঘুম চিক চিক মুভমেন্ট করো না মত
আরে ছি ভাই
তোমরা এত দূরে যায় কি করলা আমরা এখন রিয়ে দিব অথবা মইরা দিলেছে
দুইজন
আকার গেরিনার বাচ্চা
আমি এখান থেকে ভাগলাম তাহলে
ভাই আমি আর ইন একসাথে নক
রাত্রি মর আমি রিয়ে দিয়ে দিই এই এনিমি
কিলে কনফার্ম না আমাদের মরুম না কিলে পাই নাই
মরো তাহলে কিলটা কনফার্ম হইব আমি রিভিউ পাই গেলাম
আগে দি কিলে পাইনি
আরে আমাকে নামাই দেন
থাকবে আচ্ছা চকলেট ভাই তোমার কথা
ओ किल पाई गई थैंक यू है ना हमारे दिन
चॉकलेट भाई मेरे साथ भी खेल लिया करो यार तुम ऐसा करते हो भाई
ओके ओके खेलूंगा खेलूंगा कब खेलोगे कब
अभी
कब कब
अभी 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 खेलना चाहोगे
अभी
खेलोगे कस्टम खेलूंगा मैं लेकिन
मतलब कि कस्टम 1 वर्सेस 1
नहीं 1v1 नहीं खेलूंगा मैं तुम्हारा गेम तो देख चुका हूं
একটু ভাই বা রিয়াদটা তো আমার দিকে একটু দেখেন আমার নচড়া দেখেন
मेरा इतना अच्छा नहीं है
नहीं अच्छा खेलते हो इसीलिए 1v1 नहीं खेलूंगा
ए नहीं अच्छा नहीं है मैं तो न्यू पीसी प्लेयर हूं ना
अरे तो मेरे को कहां देखो खेलते हुए
आप फोन पे खेलते हो फोन और पीसी पे कौन
पीसी से अरे किलर है ना भाई मैं फोन पे खेलता हूं मैं जितनी भी लड़कियां तो उसे सबको फंसा लेता भाई क्या बताऊं
अरे बाप रे ये तो लड़की दीवाना है
अरे क्रैश भाई कहाँ क्रैश होके आए हो बताओ
भाई क्रैश तो मैं हर जगह पर होता हूँ भाई मोटर 4 है ना
लेकिन क्यों
हाँ लेकिन क्यों क्रैश होती है बताओ ना
वही लड़की वो बोलता है ना जब भी मैं लड़की देखूं मेरा
देखे देखे हने भाई एक जादू देखाम तो
যাও দেখাম